right, let's get the show on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, movies, books, games, and all the things in between. And I am joined, of course, by your amiable host, producer, and co-writer of Ringers, Lord of the Fans, the award-winning documentary, and a contributor to the 3 volumes People's Guide to J.R.R. Tolkien. It's a great book, 2 volumes, and many other published works, Mr. Clifford Broadway. Hello, sir. Hold on. Your audio, wait. Your audio isn't coming through. Hold on. That's right. I'm seeing in the chat. Hold on. We're going to restart that whole thing in just a second. I can hear you. I can hear you, but why can't the folks at home hear you? Hold on. Oh, wait, I think I know.
I've got this.
Did that work? I just had to. I switched
Did
the
that
button.
work? Did you hit a magic button? Can you hear me now? Hello, everybody.
All right,
Okay.
everybody has become great lip readers, so we're just going to go on and pretend that you guys understood everything he said, and I agree with Cliff that it was a fantastic pre-release marketing campaign. The fans are hyped.
Big marketing
people
campaign.
Are
Yes.
hyped. Huge marketing campaign. I think they touched almost every entertainment journalist and blog under the sun. Big magazine spreads in Empire and Vanity Fair and every Entertainment Weekly and everything in between, and then you had set visits from Nerdist and IGN and you had so many other things, and Cliff, we saw some of our friends actually on some videos, didn't we?
Oh yeah, actually, there was a really interesting little conversations with Felicia Day, and we got to see our good friend Green Dragon from the OneRing.net, Kirsten, and there was Matt, Nerd of the Rings, and Knew Better, Do Better, and Tea with Tolkien, and fascinating new little conversations.
I didn't see Tea with Tolkien. I just saw I think 3 episodes and 3 so far. I'm trying to look for the videos, but you better believe it. I'm on their Twitter right now, Rings of Power Twitter, and I'm trying to find the video of Green Dragon because we're so excited. But they've been posting so much this weekend, I can't. It's hard to keep up. Literally, Amazon has been posting hard in the paint all weekend. I don't know how else to describe it, Cliff.
Yes. It's been quite. It looks like it's been a rather big, involved process for everyone, and it's been really exciting to see friends, sitting there talking with Felicia Day. How fabulous is that? And how very cool. And
there it is.
Yes, I am last win. I'm still completely on this Martin Fry ABC kick. Can't help it. It's great stuff. Are we going to talk about the marketing first, Justin, or are we going to just dive right into our first impressions and initial impressions?
Well, I figure
the
out
first 3 episodes
some technical
of the show.
stuff. You go ahead.
Okay. All right. You're going to figure out some. He's going to get the gremlins out of the microwave.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote one of those famous songs by ABC, and it starts with, "I've seen the future. I can't afford it." Bam. He says a lot.
So wait, let's put some ground rules. Are you going to review all 3 episodes? Or are you going to
Yes,
reveal
I'm
each
the
episode one by one?
no, no, no. The writing that I'm going to launch, it'll probably appear tomorrow afternoon, um, is going to be a full and completely considered breakdown of the first 3 episodes to actually warm the cockles. It will warm your heart. It will warm the insides of your rib cage. I'm gonna I'm gonna tell it like it is. I'm gonna tell everyone my complete and honest impressions. Um, For Frodo says that the horse Beric saving Isildur was overcooked. I don't know, maybe. I actually thought that was one of the more charming and fun and, kind of interesting little bits
Well,
where
before we get to
the
fan reaction, let's hear what you
I'm not,
have.
I'm
Just
just gonna
ignore the
I have
chat and speak your mind, Cliff.
I
Clarity of
watched all
thought.
three. I watched all 3 episodes with great pleasure. It was really beautiful to see how consistent with season one, the the art direction, the production design, the costumes, the music, above all, it's just another huge layer of icing on the cake. Um, I was really impressed, and overall, I enjoyed myself a great deal, but I also found a couple of things a little bit like what? Head scratchers. There was some moments, just like in season one, there were some moments that were incredibly powerful, beautiful, and some moments that were kind of daft. And I'm like, what? What? Why are they doing that? Why did that happen? So, it seems that the elves who don't want to deal with a pressing issue have a big habit of just jumping into the sea. This now seems to be a motif in every season that if you have an elf who's deeply concerned about something, they're just going to jump into the sea. I don't know why this keeps happening, but
I agree.
um
Oh my God, Galadriel does it. Elrond does it. Cirdan nearly does it. Like you're right. Like, uh, what is
No, no,
up
no,
with
no. Oh,
that?
hold on. Okay, the best stuff about season one was everything in Khazad-dûm. Now, the best stuff that's happening now is in Eregion, or let's just name the city. The city is Ost in Ethel. That's the name of the city where Celebrimbor is operating this amazing new forge. And guess what works better? Guess what works better than mystery boxing? Now that we have, except for the Stranger storyline, now that we have dispensed with the mystery boxing, the audience having full awareness of Sauron, working within the regular boundaries of dramatic irony as a storytelling device, it works way, way better. It really does work better. Um, I do have some pedantic complaints about small things. Uh, choices choices that characters make in the moment. Um, but the best part about season two is a tie. It's a tie between Cirdan, everything at the Grey Havens, everything with Cirdan, and what's happening with Celebrimbor and Anatar over in Eregion. And it's really cool stuff. Um, I'm still scratching my head about some certain things that are happening with, why would you have such an important message go with only one small group of messengers and they get taken out? We don't know how those messengers got taken out, but it was so important for the High King, Gil-galad, to send the message to Eregion about Halbrand's true identity being Sauron. And with a message that critical, super critical, and you don't have telephones, you don't have the telegraph has not been invented in Middle Earth. You have to send an envoy on horseback across hundreds of miles. And you would have thought that there would have been another layer of thought on the part of the High King, and they would have had a larger group of people traveling with the message to Eregion. But it seems only a couple of people, or maybe 2 or 3, and then they're dead, and we don't know why. And so, as it has to happen, because of the way that this story is being constructed, Anatar is being reintroduced, but in a different way than was in the books. So, before I start reading the chat, I'm really, I was really kind of like excited to see so much, uh, so much of the dynamics between Anatar and Celebrimbor. These dynamics were the things that I most wanted to see last season. More than anything, this stuff that I'm seeing now in the first 3 episodes is really what I wanted to see last season. Um, Adar continues to be a super cool, and I would even say interesting, badass character. He is really badass and interesting. Um, there's something so cool about the whole, Julius Caesar assassination thing that's set up in the very opening of episode 1. Um, there is they're trying to apply some hard magic to the transformation of Sauron from one physical form to another. And by them showing it the way they did, they're introducing rules and precepts of magic behavior, with Sauron needing to eat a rat. I mean, when he's in bubbling protoplasm form, he's nothing but a bubbling mass of protoplasm just sitting at the bottom of a cave. And it has been speculated that if no rat had ever walked up to that little pool of mess, would he have ever, ever reformed his physical form? But that's because they're introducing a hard magic concept that he needs to absorb another physical creature in order to get its energy or its viability so that he could, you know, change from bubbling protoplasm back into something like a bipedal humanoid figure. But he is a Maiar spirit. We have heard many things in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien about how Sauron would lose his physical shape and then perhaps become a cloud or perhaps become non-formed, a non-corporeal form. And I never visualized him looking like, a symbiote from Venom. I never visualized it looking like this. But he can't reform himself until other organic creatures come within his touch. And ultimately, for him to regain complete humanoid form, he absorbs not just a rat or a centipede or some bugs that are under the cave. He actually absorbs a whole nother humanoid, the carriage driver, instant death, and he decides to take on, probably for the final time in all of Middle-earth history, the final time that he could take on a fair form as Halbrand.
This
or
is
the
how
character
your
who would be
email
Halbrand.
finds me right now.
Yeah, everyone's doing that. This is how your email finds me.
But Cliff, you know what this reminded me of?
What?
Sauron just needed.
No,
What happened? Dang it.
Sauron just needed okay, what? What did he really need?
He needed Zoloft.
He needed Zoloft. You're so funny. Um,
You know what I'm talking about?
what? You're so funny. No, hold on. Let me just finish my thought. I was really, really happy with Adar taking over, because after the War of Wrath, after the end of the First Age, the surviving orcs, what few there were, probably would have had a lot less reason to trust the main lieutenant of Morgoth. And Adar, as has evidently, it wasn't answered, but Adar had been working behind the scenes quite some time. Oh, that's so funny, the Zoloft animation. God, I see it now. You're so funny, dude. All right, look. Um, there's now been introduced a hard magic system that didn't appear in Tolkien. It's an interesting concept, but it now tells us that when Maiar, including Gandalf being at the point of his death after battling with the Balrog. It tells us that, these angelic spirits have limitations to what they can do. At least Sauron in this state has severe limitations. And I believe it was Nerd Cookies or another channel who had suggested, if it weren't for that rat, would Sauron have just laid there under the mountains of Forodwaith for eons and eons and never have taken form again? Is that what you're talking about? Look at it from the Marvel movies perspective. That franchise made a big joke about that one rat that got into the van, got into Scott Pym's van and managed to click the button to restart the thing. It's the one thing that is like, oh, well, you never would have had Endgame and the end of Thanos if it hadn't been for that rat in that van, just to kick that button by accident. So
I'm okay with that. Look,
it's funny to me. It's kind of funny to me, but
the chat room
I'm not
wants
complaining.
To know, do we know?
I'm saying it's really specific.
Do we know Sauron's powers? As far as I remember, Sauron is on the same race as Gandalf and Saruman. So we know Saruman can control the weather. He yells an incantation and he calls the snow at Caradhras, and there's a big snowstorm, right? And
yes, he is exercising his influence over the weather. Yes.
So that at minimum, there's that. Gandalf and Radagast can talk to animals and can control animals. So is it? Did Tolkien ever explain?
He can't control animals. He communes with animals.
Communes with them. And that's
he
what
doesn't
Sauron
control
does
them.
in a terrible way. So, I guess, what powers do we know that are canon to the books? What powers does Sauron have? We know he's a shapeshifter. He's been a werewolf and a vampire, and he
vampire
can
bat.
he can turn into anything he wants, basically, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he has the ability to shapeshift, but I don't know if he can make himself into anything. He can make himself into a humanoid. He can make
you just
himself
said vampire
into
bat, and we just said
bat,
werewolf. So
yeah.
So is this symbiote a good way of setting up that opportunity where he can transform himself into anything?
It's interesting. It's interesting, but it instantly creates a story lockdown or a story loophole that is not a loophole, but it's exactly what other people have said. If no organic life, aside from moss and lichens that were in the cave, if there'd been no rat and no centipede and nothing for the protoplasm to latch onto, would Sauron have remained like that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years under the mountains, never to be seen again? This is an interesting concept.
Obviously he can crawl around. He captured that rat, so he obviously has some.
Only because it touched
movement.
him. It came to him, and he absorbed it.
Well, let me ask you this.
And it gave him enough life force to start moving. He became, I don't think ambulatory is the word, but he became movable, sort of ambulatory, because, he needed the life force. Yeah. So, but
is it better than? What happened there? Gosh dang it!
I'm trying to put my thoughts to words, and
is it better than Pickle Rick? Because basically they made him Pickle Rick. They Pickle Ricked Sauron.
They did not Pickle Rick Sauron.
You just explained that if that rat had never shown up, he would have never been ambulatory, and that's exactly what happened to Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick can't move. He's a pickle. And it's only until a rat attacks him that he gets the arms and legs of the rat. I'm
Stop it.
they,
You're so
no,
funny.
I'm not joking.
You're
I'm
so
not,
funny.
I'm not trying
Yes,
to be
you
funny.
are.
They literally
No,
pickle ricked Sauron.
they did not. Stop that. You no.
You
No.
just
What
said that he would have been
would it
unambulatory
it it it,
for
it
millennium.
reads it reads that way. It reads that way because I had never thought about. Now look at. I've been thinking about the destruction of Numenor all of my life since I read these books. Okay, and at that point, we're talking about we're talking about how no 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 no
Let
no
me
no no
time
no
out.
no
That's a
no
whole
no
separate storyline.
no 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 no
No,
no.
no, no. That's a whole
It
separate
is not.
storyline.
I am
Let's.
not talking about that storyline. I'm
Okay.
talking about something in the books where Sauron loses his physical form. Please let me talk, Justin. At the destruction of Numenor, Sauron is on the island of Numenor, and his physical form is likewise destroyed, along with all of the other people, except for the faithful, who are off the coast on a few boats with Elendil and Isildur, and they're actually leaving. Okay, thanks for the thumbs up. But the the fact is, I've been thinking about this for years, and I'm maybe the writers in the writers' room were also thinking about this too. How is he going to lose his complete corporeal form, lose his physical body at the destruction of Numenor, and he keeps the ring because he still has the one ring on him. And then for years we've been visualizing a dark, shadowy cloud floating above the ocean waters, carrying the ring, floating across the ocean. And it's not that Sauron is reduced to a bubbling mass of protoplasm on the ground. He's reduced to what? Some kind of spirit form or cloud that takes the ring and floats across the ocean after the sinking of Numenor, and he goes all the way back to Middle-earth, back to Mordor, across what, 2,000 miles of ocean?
So that was kind of a plot hole in Tolkien's writing that like
No.
the
You know what
ring.
Professor Tolkien said? He said it should not boggle the mind to think about Sauron doing that. It shouldn't bother you so much. So.
But you just
if
said
I'm-
he's a
all of
corporal
us,
form.
all of us as readers, all the readership of Tolkien for all of our lives have been trying to figure out what that mysterious moment would look like when Sauron loses his corporeal form and still has the ring and leaves behind Numenor while everyone else is dead, except for the survivors, the faithful. And off he goes with his ring floating across the ocean as a dark cloud or a vapor or a shadow or whatever it is. So this, right now, with the opening of this season 2, is giving us for the first time a distinct visualization, and they're even going further than giving us that. They're giving us a hard magic system to how it works. Now, when it happens when Numenor is destroyed, I don't know how they're going to do it again. Will they do it again like this?
They
Just
better.
like we're seeing now?
I mean, consistency is
Maybe.
important.
Maybe. But anyways.
Cecilia in the chat room, Cliff, can you confirm? Cecilia in the chat room says, in the books, Sauron just changes from corporal form to corporal form without any problem. Not how it is shown in the show.
Yes. Well, I mean, in this moment, he was a Maiar spirit who had been attacked and his physical body was killed. So what is left of him? He is an angelic being. He is a Maiar. Like Gandalf, like Saruman, he is a Maiar. And, Gandalf left his physical form on the peak of Zarak Zagil, a mountain that was actually mentioned by Princess Disa in the dialogue. Okay.
And spoiler alert, rumors are that peak is the same peak that Celeborn is imprisoned on. Continue.
Rumor. Well, still a rumor. Yeah, crazy.
Still a rumor. We don't know Celeborn's in this show, and I hope he's not. Anyway, continue.
I know. I really hope Celeborn shows up very, very soon. I wanted Celeborn to be there last season.
Boy,
no. Okay.
Later on in the show, we'll get into leaks.
Okay.
Because we got some juicy ones. Continue.
I am completely fascinated by Adar, and Adar looking at Halbrand and not knowing that he's looking at Sauron. Let us again talk about the usefulness of this narrative device. Dramatic irony. We know who Halbrand is. Adar does not. Celebrimbor does not. and it works. It works so much better in season
When
2
we know,
now
the
that it's being
audience
done
knows.
this way.
Yes.
Yes, it's so much better than mystery boxing. So, I am now led to the storyline of the stranger and the Harfoots.
Pause.
I want to ask,
wait.
why are they still mystery boxing
no,
the stranger?
we're not going to go there yet. I got
Okay,
something to add. I got something to add on
Okay. All right.
Mr. Puddles
All right.
here. Pickle Sauron. Pickle Rick Sauron.
You are so funny, dude.
I
So
wish
funny.
I was being funny, but the way you described him and the way they've treated him, he literally Pickle Ricked himself. And he couldn't move until another rat stumbled upon him. That's exactly what happened to Pickle Rick. With the rats, even. Anyway. I like this oil slick of a blob. I like this oil slick of a blob because it solves two problems. One, as you said, how does non-corporal form Sauron get from Numenor while it's sinking back to Middle Earth? And this looks like an oil slick on the water. So,
you think oil slick?
I think we're all familiar with oil slicks, and we know that oil slicks don't really go away. You have to clean it up. So it makes sense to watch an oil slick drift across the ocean. Second issue, and this is the big one, Cliff. This is the big one.
I agree with you, Atalante. I would have preferred a cloud or a shadow form instead of a black protoplasm slime form. But that's just me.
Okay, let me change your mind there.
I would have
Who
preferred
said that? Who
a
said
shadow.
That? Who said that?
Atalante.
Atalante.
Said it.
All right. Let me present you a theory. Because the thing I've been struggling with this show, how do we go from hot Sauron, hot Halbrand, to a flaming eyeball in the sky on a tower? This looks like
That
an
never
oil
happened.
slick. Hold on.
In the books, the eye on the tower never happened.
I watched the movies, bro. I know what I saw in the movies. It's a giant flaming eyeball on a tower.
And that was an invention of Peter Jackson and his design team. That's not the way it happened in the books.
An eye wreathed in flame.
No, the books do not have the top of Barad-dûr with a giant
but they describe Sauron as a lidless eye wreathed in flame.
Yeah, but he is
but
probably
what?
Inside his throne room. He's in his throne room.
What? What are you talking about? The lidless eye. Anyway,
why don't you just read
it?
I don't want to argue with you about it. I'm telling you,
this form
his
is what becomes This is what becomes the flaming eye. You set flame to this oil slick, and it burns for 1,000 years.
No,
that's what that is. That looks like an oil slick. And I think that the orcs end up setting it aflame, and it burns for 1,000 years, and that's the Sauron form that's locked up in Barad-dûr. That it looks like a lidless eye wreathed in flame. That oil slick.
Okay.
So you've seen those you've seen those big oil pits that has been burning for 100 years. That's what's going on here. So kudos to
silly.
McPain, kudos to the showrunners for coming up with a physical solution for what Sauron turns into, a lidless eye wreathed in flame. This is an oil slick that's going to be burning for 1,000 years, and I believe it, and I believe it. So,
okay, well, that is. I hate to say this, but please don't be so misinformed, and let us not misinform our audience. The giant eye on top of Barad-dûr was a visual concoction of the team at Weta and Peter Jackson. Sauron does not exist that way in the pages of the book. He is described, yes, some of the folks are saying as a metaphor. The eye is a metaphor. Often, it is a symbol.
Metaphors and symbols. That doesn't work on screen.
Then if that doesn't work on screen, I've seen it done in a very unique way.
Well, let me ask you this. Is this show a prequel to the movies or an adaptation of the books? From your perspective, never mind what anybody else has said. Is this a prequel to the movies?
Ooh, I don't know if they want it to be a prequel to the movies, but whether they want it or not, this is where they've landed themselves
That's
in.
where they've landed themselves.
They
That's what
this is that's
that's
but
what it is, and that's why New Line Cinema's credit is in the credits.
yes, I did. Higgy Baby, I did get Mononoke worm demon vibes from the protoplasm. Yes, I did. I did get those vibes.
Let me pull it up. Mononoke Worm Demon.
Yeah, put in Princess Mononoke, and then type in um, the word demon. Yeah, that's it. That's the one coming out of the forest. It did have those vibes. Yeah. Hello, everybody in the chat. I just want to acknowledge everyone in the chat. We're not ignoring you. We're just trying to talk about. Yeah, that's that is some inspiration right there. Yes. Yes.
All right. So
yes. Okay.
So do we
Hi,
like
Julia?
So all right. So do we like the Pickle Rick? Do we like the Mononoke Demon, or do we like our Zoloft blob?
Do you know what?
Or it's a combination of all of them.
One of my favorite representations of Sauron is in the animated film by Rankin and Bass, The Return of the King, where Gandalf has a very strange and interesting monologue that begins with the phrase, "Who causes the minutes to fall dead, adding up to no passing hour?" And he goes on and on this amazing monologue, and the camera moves and shows an eyeball floating in a horrible, evil vapor within the confines of the Dark Tower. And it has tendrils of smoke coming out of it, and it is just a giant orb of an eyeball floating in evil darkness. Raise your hand in the chat if you remember that image of Sauron from Return of the King, Rankin Bass animated film. It's a really interesting depiction.
All right,
I
so
would
you like that one.
when I was
well,
you know what I as a child
ask...
I always thought that after Numenor was destroyed that there was nothing left but an eyeball, and it was an eyeball that floated over from Numenor back to Mordor. You know what? I also, as a child, mistakenly thought that Sauron had left his One Ring behind in Mordor, but he would never do that. When he allowed himself to be taken captive to Numenor, Sauron had his One Ring with him on his person and was actively using it to corrupt everybody around him.
Okay.
So,
by the way,
breaking
news, Cliff. Breaking news.
Yeah.
We reached out. There have been a lot of questions from people in the Discord, on Twitter, everywhere.
Yeah.
What is the release schedule of future episodes? Obviously, the 3-episode premiere is something special, right? But what is going to be the release schedule this Thursday and all the following Thursdays? And
that's right, Roberto. Yes.
Torn can tell you exclusively. We've got confirmation that this week's episode time will be the same as last week. Thursday at 12:01 Pacific time, midnight. Thursday at midnight. Exactly the same as last time. So that's 3 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. London. We have it. We can confirm for you, this is exclusive to Torn Tuesday, that we have it confirmed that the release date, the release time for this week's episode, and as far as I know, all future episodes this season is midnight Pacific, the same as the premiere.
Midnight Pacific. I just sent you an image. Look at that. Justin, if you can show everybody that image that I just sent you.
All right.
It's really cool. You're right. Same exact time, midnight. Well, that's going to be bloody late for everybody. At least on the East Coast. Y'all are going to have... Me, I'm fine staying up at midnight to watch a show. Yeah, zoom in on that. Show that full screen. That is one of the... That is the Eye of Sauron as depicted by the Japanese animators who, in the year 1980, released The Return of the King by Rankin and Bass. That is the Eye of Sauron. Deep inside the Tower of Barad-dûr. That is his final physical form. That eye. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
All right.
Now, so that was at the point where Tolkien said he could no longer take any physical form at all. Like, after the destruction of Numenor, I'm pretty sure that Sauron was not able to take any physical form at all. at all. But we'll have to check that with the historians.
After Numenor,
Okay.
not but what about the armor?
After Numenor.
What about the armor after Numenor? That Isildur cuts the ring from his finger.
Oh, then I'm mistaken. Then I'm mistaken in saying that. He actually
right.
does come out to do battle during the last alliance of elves and men. I don't know why where's my brain today?
Cliff,
however,
I want to ask you a really important thing here. In the
Okay.
next scene, this...
Yeah, Topcraft. That's right, Topcraft. The animators from Topcraft had created Sauron to look like that. It was very interesting. Okay. And now,
Hold on.
here he is. Here he is. Look at this.
So, Cliff, I want your opinion. Oh, man, there's our Zoloft Pickle Rick. He's just depressed.
Oh, that's right. Higgy Baby offers the best correction. He's unable to take a fair form after Numenor.
Cliff,
Yes, that is what I'm thinking of.
I need
Thank
your
you, Higgy Baby.
professional opinion.
Yes.
Is this a woman?
I assumed so, yes. Yes, I assumed so.
Is this a woman alone?
Yes.
So our little Pickle Rick Sauron attacks a woman and comes out a man?
He absorbs a human body and is then able, according to these newly presented rules, now he's able to become a bipedal humanoid again. And here
The
he comes.
closed caption said it was a woman. So
Yes.
yeah. Pickle Rick Sauron attacks a woman and comes out a hot man.
Why are you puzzling about that?
Why doesn't he look like the Myron figure that we saw in the prologue?
That is strange. I do want to ask everyone in the chat about that. Why wouldn't he just reappear as the same actor and be that?
Well, I'm asking you, is there... So you talk about hard magic and soft magic. I'm really confused as just a casual viewer that wants to love this show. Yet in the first episode, they introduce this redheaded guy. He calls himself Sauron. They kill him. He turns into a Zoloft blob. He Pickle Ricks himself to life. He attacks a woman and comes out a man. And none of them look the same.
Dan is correct. It was the centipede DNA that he absorbed that caused the hotness. The Charlie Vickers hotness factor is because of the centipede. Well done. You sussed it out. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay, hold on. Katie says, because it's her life force and not her body that he is taking. That's acceptable. Otherwise, he would have looked like a rat, and then he would have looked like a centipede. So it's her life force, not her physical body.
So he's
I understand
always choosing what he looks like, but he needs the life force of beings, men, creatures, women. He needs life force, but he cannot possess bodies.
What's interesting is that what is really interesting, and I don't know the answer, why wouldn't he be the same actor? Why is he a different humanoid now?
Okay.
I really don't know the answer.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Lore Master. Does Sauron possess people?
Not in the sense of The Exorcist, and it's not like a William Peter Blatty novel.
Okay.
It's not like,
that's good to know. That's a huge thing.
He doesn't possess people, but he does, as you know from season 1, he does enter their consciousness and make them see and sense things that are not there. He did it with Galadriel, got inside her mind, and made her have sensory experiences,
That's called love.
Being back.
That's called
in
love
Valinor.
and infatuation. That's not mind control.
That's not love.
That's infatuation. That's dating, Cliff. That's what we
I
call
know.
dating. You get in each other's minds.
No. I'm not doing this. I know a lot of people are shipping the Galadriel
It's not a
Halbrand
ship.
thing.
It was in the show.
A lot of people are shipping those two.
It's not
I
a
never
ship.
did.
It's not a ship. It was in the show.
I know, but they're shipping the characters because they want them to be the way that you are describing. And I never wanted that.
They you were.
He
We don't
he
have to
was
ship
he
it.
was
It's
he was
already
tempting
there.
her. He was tempting her with power and purpose, not with love. He was
Like
not
my
tempting her with
ex.
love. He was not he was tempting her with power and purpose, not with romantic love. I don't know.
I'm entertained, but the chat. Some people in the chat
You
room are
guys,
not entertained with the romance angle. Okay,
this is
so
too much.
let's squat.
You guys,
Let's squash one of
Just
these things.
listen.
We know.
Listen.
So just to be clear, we know for sure. Well, our best guess is Sauron, according to Tolkien, does not possess bodies. He feeds off life force. So this idea of like him possessing these creatures and this woman, he's consuming their life force and then creating his own image. And this explains why he appears as Anatar later. He literally can create his own image at will.
Yes.
Would you like to have seen Sauron become animals and maybe a wolf and maybe go through the pecking order of nature?
Do you know, would it have made more sense if he consumed the rat and then morphed into the rat and started walking out of the caves? Would that have made more sense?
Instead of a blob sliding down a snowy embankment like a depressed little Zoloft blob. He's just depressed, man.
He's just a depressed little blob. That's cute, though. Okay, you're funny.
All right, so before we move on to the other storylines,
I'm so dying to talk about Cirdan and the Dark Wizard.
So,
I'm so dying to talk about all these other things.
All right, and we don't have to talk about Anatar that much because I think everybody's in agreement that the Anatar Celebrimbor reveal is fantastic.
It's fantastic. It was great. And you know what works best about it is that we in the audience are enjoying the dramatic irony. It really could have been like that from season 1. They didn't have to mystery box Halbrand the whole time. But that's neither here nor there.
So you're okay. So you're cool with everything Sauron so far, from the blob to the angelic Anatar.
I still don't understand how he managed to be with the other people who were refugees from the orc attack, and they got on a boat, and they were taking the boat to go across the sea. And how did they end up, after they were attacked by the sea dragon, how did they manage to be at the exact same spot where Galadriel had previously jumped from that ship and was now swimming on her own? There's a, I guess, and someone in the chat did say that there's a lot of moments in Tolkien's Legendarium where a chance meeting happens, and it's not a chance meeting. It looks like the illusion of a chance meeting, but it's not. And it ends up being a very important meeting. One of the most important things that ever happened by chance was Bilbo getting lost and separated from the dwarves when they were underneath the mountains and escaping from Goblin Town. And then Bilbo falls down a side tunnel and ends up right at Gollum's cave.
Yeah.
Absolute chance. Complete serendipity. Maybe you could say a moment of divine providence, because it changed all of Middle-earth and the fate and the history of everything. Because Bilbo managed to have that accidental bump, he was being carried by, I think, Dory, maybe one of the dwarves drops Bilbo off of his back shoulders, and he falls down the tube.
Yeah.
And there he is.
I would say
I still haven't figured that out.
What they're doing with Sauron so far, I don't think is what anyone expected. It is. They're solving some tough problems visually because he has to end up as a flaming eye in the tower. I mean, that's where he's ending up. So, the choice is being made. I mean, we're just along for the ride. So I can't really
during the 7th. Thank you.
I can't really fault anything with the Sauron storyline so far. It looks great and it's meme worthy, and I'm always going to think of him as Pickle Rick.
It's meme worthy, and it was brutal. The death scene was way more brutal then they're going for. I'm surprised it's not rated M for mature.
I would have
TVM,
liked to see
because it was
shape shifting
brutal.
more. I want to see the shape shifting. I wanted to see him shape shift into Anatar. I want to see him shape shift from a blob into things. But we're seeing it off screen, and I don't know how you reconcile that with the soft magic versus the hard magic, because this is a very magical being, and the reason, as far as I know, that we don't see hard magic is because the wizards are told specifically there's no hard magic allowed in Middle Earth, so don't do it.
They're not allowed to show power against power. They're not allowed to reveal the extent of their power against
but
the other
Sauron
power.
does not have those guardrails, so he could be the one showing hard magic.
Vargas, you're correct. The assassination was shocking. It was brutal, really brutal. I was shocked. I was like, "Oh gosh, that's bloody and gruesome."
Did you like the allusion to Peter Jackson when when Sauron is destroyed in Peter Jackson's movie?
Uh-huh. Oh, that is an allusion to Peter Jackson's moment. Yeah.
So when Sauron's destroyed, they
cut
cut the ring from his hand, and then his whole being starts imploding, and then you hear this big bass go, boom, and you hear and the bass goes all over, and the armies of Sauron like fall down. This is exactly what happened here. So these guys are obviously pulling from the Peter Jackson cinematic aesthetic
playbook. Yes,
playbook.
I get it. I get it. Do you know what?
Were you okay
sometimes,
with that?
yeah, I thought it was cool. There are moments like this where the TV show looks and feels very cinematic, very cinematic. But then there are a lot of other moments here and there where an edit is done, an edit or a transition from place to place, and it feels like television. It feels like an editor who is editing a television show is doing it at a different level. Sometimes,
well,
this
you'll
is
notice
not a problem. It's not a problem.
They
I'm just saying that
re-edited
sometimes
all
the series
it is a
presents
problem.
itself differently.
It is a problem.
Not to me.
And this is why there's multiple directors credited on these episodes, because it seems like that they re-edited these episodes and put footage from one episode into other episodes, and now the directors are getting shared credit.
Okay.
And
well, maybe
you
that
can
explains
see
some of the
jump
editing
cuts.
that I noticed.
And that's some of the jump cuts that you see where there's a noticeable change, and and I agree with you in that. What I wanted to say is there was a comment from Finrod. It's like when an angel is killed in Supernatural, and people keep asking.
You'll have to forgive me. I'm not super familiar with that show.
Well,
I'm not really.
Supernatural was on before Riverdale on the CW. So if you didn't
I know that.
If you didn't watch Riverdale,
was on for, what, 10 seasons?
More than that. I think 18 seasons.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My overall perspective on this show is, on season 2 so far, is it wants to be a CW show.
I don't get that feeling. No.
The melodramatic storytelling aspects, the big uses of magic, and then 30 minutes of talking. There's just a lot about it that is proudly a big fantasy show, but the drama and the tension is on the level of a CW show. This isn't Game of Thrones, and
that's not my assessment.
This isn't House of the Dragon. This would be right at home, right after Supernatural. I could totally see this. Hey, stay tuned, because coming up next, after Supernatural, the new episode of Rings of Power, where Galadriel gets into more trouble. Stay tuned. Cliff, do you have a different opinion on that?
I have a very respectfully submitted, Justin. I have a very different opinion. I don't. All those CW shows, to me, with a rare exception, those CW shows are cheesy, chintzy, low quality crap. And there's nothing about the Rings of Power that is chintzy or cheap or low quality. It doesn't. I don't have any of that sensation at all. You are noticing specific tropes of storytelling that are familiar to television writers. You are probably noticing some editing choices, and some cuts that are a little bit less cinematic. The most glorious cinematic transition they had last season was when Arondir and them are escaping out of the woods and going out into the sunlight. Well, and they transition with that amazing music, and then it dissolves into another scene in Khazad-dûm where they're singing. You guys remember how amazing that transition was? The light in the distance, the music, the slow motion, but some of the editing choices in this series, season 2, are comfortable being a little bit more chop, bit, we're moving on. Right to the next scene. Um, there is there's a lot to be said about when we get to episode 3 and the political subterfuge in Numenor and all that stuff. But I I feel there's no quality of a crappy once a week CW show. I do not get that feeling. Rings of Power is lustrous, opalescent. It is like written large. It is large canvas painting, real big large canvas painting. And we're not talking someone doing chalk on the sidewalk like a CW show. This is oil on canvas, not chalk outside on the dirty sidewalk. Totally different. The production values of Rings of Power off the scale. The
I
incredible,
agree. The
incredible
music
presence
is the best
of
on
Bear
television
McCreary.
ever.
I was just about to say that.
The music is the best. The visual effects are the best. Visual effects are better than House of Dragon. This visually and orally is amazing, but the storytelling is CW.
Maybe the storytelling is just finding its stride now. They're just finding their stride, getting into the stride where they're going to be most comfortable with everything.
Well, let me ask you this:
But
would they get their stride quicker if there were more episodes per season?
Yeah, if they were more episodes, then they could definitely. It would have been great if they had been 10 or 12 episodes from last season, and this one as well. We may be maybe as an audience, we can feel that we're shortchanged by not getting more episodes, but in exchange for that, in deference to what they are producing, it is lustrous, deeply thought out, really the textures, the details, the some of the compositions, really awesome stuff. There's something about how Halbrand submits himself as a willing prisoner to Adar, which we'll see as a foreshadowing. It's a big foreshadowing. Sauron submits himself to Waldreg and Adar in the newly formed Mordor landscape. And later, maybe in season 4 or something, Sauron will also willingly submit himself as a prisoner to the Numenorians so he can be taken to Numenor and cause a lot more damage, a lot more trouble. So this is a great foreshadowing. And that scene, yeah, I'm glad you found it, Justin. That was really well written, really great, where Sauron the trickster promises to serve the Lord of Mordor until the day he dies, which was a great way of him saying he would only serve himself. He was being specifically self-referential while at the feet of Adar. So here you go. Daisy Kim says, I didn't like season 1, but I am liking season 2 so far. And yeah, I tell you, there's some stuff that looks like it's quickly they're episode moments where a scene, a place of characters is very quickly staged, just because the writers needed to get some essential information out to the audience. And we really need to talk about the opening of what happens in Lindon, where Galadriel is chasing after Elrond on horseback to try to get the three rings. And then he goes up to High King Gil-galad, and they have that conversation where Gil-galad says,
explain
"Oh,
it,
it's
but
so."
what
No. You remember that?
did you
guys,
like it?
That's a really, yeah. I really liked it. I liked it until all of a sudden Elrond decided he needed to pull a Galadriel and jump in the water. It's just, if he really needed to go to Cirdan, you would think that Elrond would have gone to Cirdan first instead of going to Gil-galad. But this was the conversation everyone was waiting for. It's the opening of the new season, and Galadriel has to take responsibility for letting Sauron come into the midst of the elves. And she is challenged by the High King, and she answers after some prevarication, a little bit. She answers truthfully and clearly. And it's really cool because it's very necessary for Galadriel to build trust again with Gil-galad. But the incredible strain, the difficult strain on the friendship between Elrond and Galadriel is really interesting to watch. Really. Elrond wants nothing to do with these rings. It makes it more ironic, therefore, that he will ultimately possess the ring that Gil-galad is wearing now, Vilya. But Elrond will ultimately come to possess that third ring, the one that Gil-galad is now wearing. And I think it's really interesting that they're building up that dramatic moment where he hates the idea, Elrond wants nothing to do with the rings, but ultimately Elrond will become a ring bearer of one of the three elven rings. So that's a really nice way to build that up. Oh yeah, the Gillette joke, the smooth shaving with
We're
the
not there.
clamshell.
We're not.
I love
We're not
that
at
stuff.
Cirdan
That was
yet,
kind of
but
funny and cool, but I don't know why Cirdan shaved
I
himself. I don't know why he
really
did that.
liked.
But what?
I really liked the overall narrative construct of Elrond on the run. I love the idea of like he's already rebelling. He's already the guy that says no. I mean, because when you get to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, he's always that guy. It's like, no, we're not. Men are weak. No, we're not going to help. No, we're leaving these lands. No, you can't marry Aragorn. He's Mr. No. And so I like that he's already set up early.
He is Mr.
Early.
No.
He's like, guys, no. Like, we're not using these rings. So he's already Mr. No. So that is true to character. Right. I appreciate it. But I also really like the storytelling structure of him going on the run and hiding under bridges and secretly sleeping in people's workshops. Like I love that. Yeah. I could have done a whole episode of Elrond on the run, and I feel like the show. This is what I feel about a lot of things in this 3-episode premiere. It's too rushed. Like you finally set something up with actual dramatic interest of Elrond on the run, like with good reason he's on the run, with the dynamics and politics of everything, and you're playing with the rings. The rings are the reason he's on the run. Like you finally have something cool, and like it's over within like 5 minutes. Well, we don't need to go there, but I loved this, and I'm disappointed that he wasn't on the run for at least a whole episode. I would have loved to see more of Elrond on the run, getting to Cirdan. Do you know where he's at? How do I get there without being seen? He's hiding under the bridges. Like like there's something really interesting to me about Elrond on the run and seeing and going through Middle Earth and seeing who would help him. How many elves would help him? How many elves would not help him? Like, there's a whole dynamic of, like, showing the breadth of elvish culture and maybe he's in contact with Sindar elves and maybe other elves. I don't know. I like just it would have been an opportunity to show a lot more of elven personalities and culture and make the show feel a little bigger just by giving him the space of doing a whole episode of the Rings on the Run. And so that was my disappointment.
Okay. All right. Intriguing. But
do you want to go to Cirdan?
Yes. Question from Higgy Baby. Cliff, can you help answer how the three rings were seen as untainted by Sauron if they lost their power after the One Ring was destroyed? I'm confused by that. LOL. Okay, well, let me think about that for a second.
All right, while he's thinking about that, Cirdan... Well, first, let me back up. I found this quote. As stated in Quendi and Eldar, on the origin of his name, the lore masters also suppose that reference was made to the hair of the Sindar. Elwë himself had indeed long and beautiful hair of silver hue. But this does not seem to have been a common feature among the Sindar, though it was found among them occasionally, especially in the nearer or remoter kin of Elwë, as in the case of Cirdan. In general, the Sindar appeared to have very closely resembled the exiles, being dark-haired, strong and tall, but lithe. Indeed, they could hardly be told apart except for their eyes, for the eyes of all the elves that had dwelt in Aman impressed those of Middle-earth by their piercing brightness.
Okay, fair enough.
So this passage from the books clearly states that Cirdan was unique in his silver hair as a kin of Elwë.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And to answer your question, Higgy Baby, when the entire idea of using rings of power was created, it was all Sauron's idea. And they were, even when the bearers of the elven rings realized when Sauron put the One Ring on in Mount Doom, at the Cracks of Doom, when he forged that ring, they took their rings off immediately because they mentally were aware of his presence. And this is because I believe the entire system, the entire whole system of making rings that would work magically and have such properties, it was Sauron's idea. And he didn't personally make the three rings, but it was still his master plan. And when he was gone, and when his master Horcrux was gone, no more Horcrux for you, Sauron. When that power dissipated, any remaining power in the master plan also dissipated. That's my mind on that, I think. I hope I'm not too clumsy in that description of that.
But real quick, bringing that back into the lore of the show, because the show has its own lore and it's kind of related to the movies.
Sure.
They have set up this thing of anything Sauron touches turns to evil, and it's made true by the end of episode 3 when Celebrimbor wants to put the mithril in the pot, and Anatar is like, "Yo, I'll take it." And Anatar, puts his hand on the mithril before it enters.
Yes, you noticed that too.
The mold making.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you noticed that too. Yes.
They've also set up that the tree, the golden tree, that started off all of this stuff, was being corrupted by a black slime. Not really slime, but you saw the blackness, in the leaves of the tree that they're trying to rescue.
As if there was a very aggressive fungal parasite killing the tree.
And that's what Pickle Rick Sauron looks like. He looks like a fungus, right? A big black fungus.
Stop it! Don't call him Pickle Rick Sauron. Oh my God.
He is. I feel like they could have additionally supported this when Pickle Rick gets picked up on the wheel of the cart.
So silly.
Why doesn't the wheel disintegrate or break apart or become old dead wood, and maybe the woman dies, or the woman gets flown off the cart because since Sauron the Blob touched the wheel of the cart, the wood on the wheel dies. What's the word? Just it dies.
Is absorbed by him. He doesn't.
Not absorbs. It just dies, right? And it
but
crumbles.
I mean, it's already
it crumbles.
That wood was already dead because that tree was chopped down a long time ago to make that wooden wheel. If you're thinking about it like that,
Is the black
I don't
stuff
know. What?
that Sauron is that related to the black stuff in the tree?
I don't know, but it is visually connected. I don't know, but I think there is a visual reference to suggest that the darkness that's destroying the tree in Lindon it's a symbol of the light of the Eldar fading. And there's a glorious moment when Cirdan and Galadriel and Gil-galad put their rings on and the tree is healed, and it's a really beautiful image, and it suggests, to a great degree, it suggests what Galadriel would be doing with her powerful ring centuries later to create Lothlorien.
Really?
Yeah.
So this whole scene of the ring.
Hey,
let me ask you
this is interesting. Do you think that Spartan 343 suggests that Sauron might have been 1,000 years as just a puddle of goo in the darkness under the mountains of Fordwaith?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been 1,000 years or more. Yeah.
I think so too.
They don't really tell us.
Was this healing of the tree everything you hoped for?
It was really cool. It was really cool. I mean, this is where the show looks gorgeous and just feels gorgeous. And, I mean, sometimes this is where the show works best. And you're actually looking at look at the columns around in the forest. I'm not just looking at the tree being healed, but I'm looking at the other outlying buildings that are nearby in the trees.
This is the $1 billion on screen.
It's so beautiful.
Is this light on this tree supposed to be connected to the light of the two trees that we saw at the beginning of season 1?
Yeah, this is very evocative of the light of the trees.
But in your expert opinion, is it the same light? Have they given the light of Telperion? What's the name of the tree?
Laurelin Telperion, I think.
Yeah.
The two trees.
Have they given the power of Telperion into this tree?
No. Not unless you believe the Mithril midichlorians mythology that a Silmaril and a lightning strike into a tree created Mithril. If you don't believe that, then no, this is not. No.
This
isn't
happens
giving it
with
the light of the two trees. It just looks that way. It's evocative of that.
This
it
magic
evokes that.
Also happens without touching the tree.
Yes, it does.
So who's actually willing this magic?
Daisy Kim is correct. That light no longer exists. They cannot return the light to any tree like that. That light only exists
I'm an idiot because that looks like a light.
But the light of the two trees only exists in the Silmarils now, and one of them is on the brow of Eärendil as he crosses the sky as the morning star, which is Venus. In that world, in that cosmos, the light of Eärendil is Venus.
Oh, that's
the bright
interesting.
Star across the sky.
There's a comment saying Galadriel's hair is Galadriel, the golden hair of light, and Gimli's obsessed with her hair in the Third Age. So, is this tree previewing what happens to her hair?
No, her hair is already blonde. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, but
okay.
who's controlling the magic at this point?
The three of them are just discovering the magic for the first time. The issue of control hasn't even been brought up yet. That is an interesting question.
So
Very interesting question.
They don't know. They don't know Wait, but how do they know that this was going to be a magic ring? Like Celebrimbor doesn't even know. The whole episode he's like, "Did they work? Did they work? What do you mean did they work? What are they supposed to work on?
Here's a narrative
Did I
problem
miss
have.
something on season 1?
Yeah, there is a narrative problem that Elrond has stolen the three rings and Galadriel has chased him for hundreds of miles. Why is Celebrimbor not aware of this? He's back there in Eregion thinking, did they work? Did they work? Is somebody going to give me news that the rings actually worked and did some good? You know? So there's a disconnect in the story point that I haven't figured out because it all happens off stage.
Oh my gosh.
Elrond stealing the bag of the rings is all done off stage, and I don't know why Celebrimbor wouldn't know that.
Does the guy on the right know the lore? I don't know the lore. That's why he's here to tell me the lore. But you just made me realize that horseback chase is Elrond on the run. It's like the meeting Gil-galad, and that meeting is like halfway through Elrond on the run. I actually would love a whole episode of Elrond on the run and Galadriel trying to find him, Galadriel finding him, the chase is on, he runs to Gil-galad, and then the chase continues. Like, oh my gosh, there's a whole episode of Elrond on the run that I'm just, why didn't you give us to that? Why? Television is supposed to have 16 episodes per season. Television is supposed to give you the time and the breadth to have these longer pieces of the story told 1 hour at a time. And you know how lovely it would have been to just sit with Elrond for an hour in our living rooms as he rides through Middle Earth and interacts with all these different people and creatures. I love the idea of Elrond on the run for an episode. Okay.
Katie says, once again, point A and point C, but we need point B. Well, when you put them together, you get A, B, C. Yay! I'm glad you did that. But yeah, we're missing some bits of that narrative.
I don't need to read the books. I'm here to watch a good TV show. I want to be entertained.
Wheat Bix, you're funny. You're really funny. Okay, so I was so fascinated by new character Cirdan. There was I don't want to say wholesomeness, but there was a wholesome, beautiful, appealing, very appealing way that his character was presented. He was so wonderful. He seems so wise. He seems the exact Cirdan that we were denied getting to see in any of Peter Jackson's films. He's barely there for a split second. Blink your eye, you'll miss Cirdan in the opening prologue. Blink again, and you'll miss him at the end of Return of the King. Cirdan is, last season I was going on and on and on about how much I loved Owain Arthur and Sophia Nomvete as Durin and Disa and their relationship with Elrond.
So he's a home run. Cirdan is a home run.
Absolute home run. Oh my gosh. Cirdan and other, there's some really cool characters in this show. Adar, with the newly invented character.
Hold on,
he's
stay
so
on
badass.
Cirdan. So you like
Cirdan has been, we've been waiting for all of my life. I personally have been waiting all of my life to hear the man's voice, to hear the wisdom of Cirdan. And he's having this conversation with Elrond, and it's spiritual, beautiful. He is very observant, and he's willing to help Elrond behind the back of Gil-galad. Wow. Okay. Wow. Really interesting stuff. But yeah, Higgy baby, you're right. Why? Why did he shave his beard? Here's what I think. Okay. Did you laugh out loud that he used a seashell?
Wait, hold on. Before we get there,
that was so cute.
Let's talk very specifically about the
wisdom.
The
wisdom drops from Cirdan. Great wisdom drops, and we get. Yeah, remember those characters? Rumil and Daeron. Who are they? Remember? He drops these amazing references to first age characters, and I was just like, oh wow, That's first age Silmarillion name drop. So cool.
Wrong
Um,
scene.
so yeah, I'm looking at the chat.
There it
The
is.
chat is going crazy. Um, really, really good. Thank you, Rings of Power, for giving us Cirdan, the shipwright. And you know what's even more beautiful is looking at the early yeah, Daeron the Minstrel. Yes. Um, looking at what Grey Havens looks like now compared to the way the Grey Havens look at the end of Return of the King. This early shipbuilding, there's a ship house where they're shipbuilding, and there's a lighthouse, and it's just so beautiful. This early version of the Grey Havens. It's really beautiful.
You know,
I loved everything about it.
I didn't
Yeah,
catch until my third viewing
loved
this
everything about it.
weekend, Cliff.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
doesn't
I rewatched
actually
it too.
he
Yeah.
doesn't actually drop the rings
No,
in the water.
he doesn't get to. He's about to drop the ring bag, and then suddenly there's a splashing disturbance that rocks his boat. And suddenly he's like, wait, what?
So
Early
let me
what
ask you
building?
this: Is
What
the
building?
sea?
It's
Is
not
the
a shipyard.
sea?
Sorry, not a
What
shipyard. It's a ship, a building house. What do you
ship?
call like a hangar? It's like an airplane hangar, but it's for ships. What do you call it? It might have a special
Yeah,
word.
I know what you're
Yeah,
looking
all
for.
right.
Not a
There you
berth.
go. The ship house.
Um,
I don't know what I said.
Cliff,
You guys,
is there
thank
anything
you.
about the weather? Is there anything about the oceans having a mind of its own?
The oceans would present themselves under the influence of one of the Valar if the Valar wanted to, if Ulmo, the Lord of the Waters, if he wanted to make himself known, and he did in many First Age tales, he made himself manifest on the shores of the ocean as a towering god,
I
one of the
remember
Valar.
sitting
Yeah.
next to you in the theaters watching this, and I scoffed at it, and you loved it. So this is true to the lore that the sea would spit back before the rings were dropped in.
No, this never happened. We never had an episode in the books
But
where the three rings were being dropped in the water. That never
but
happened.
but the ocean has an opinion.
Yeah, but you would say it's connected to the presence of the Valar. If the ocean is behaving in such a way that it's trying to do a warning or announce a warning to Cirdan in this particular boat scene, then I would attribute that to the unspoken
Is
presence
that your
of,
take on the scene?
yeah, my take on it is it's the unspoken presence of the Lord of the Waters, Ulmo himself. Or Osse. Yeah, you're right.
What? So let
It
me
was
ask you,
okay, Angel, you got it. It was Osse on behalf of Ulmo. Remember, we have Maiar and Valar. The Valar are busy over there in Valinor. It might be the Maiar who are getting themselves a little bit more manifest and more involved in things going on. But yeah, thank you to the very observant chat.
if you
Yes.
think we're apologizing for what Amazon's doing, you haven't been watching enough. We're taking a very critical eye on this.
Thank you, Riff. Thank you, Riff, for sharing, but your name calling is not welcome here. We are not Amazon apologists. We are
Not at all.
hardcore fans who have very different opinions about what we like and what we don't like.
All right. So let me present this, Cliff.
And I am
We're
not
okay.
afraid to say
We're
what I
moving
don't
on.
like.
We're
as much
moving
as I'm
on.
afraid to say what I do like.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you've told me that it's okay in the canon for the sea to spit back. You're okay with that. You're okay with the sea spitting back at Cirdan in this scene.
Do you know why? I'm pleased that they didn't over-explain it. The reason why it
Yes.
works for me is they did not explain it at all, and leaving that alone leaves the suggestion that maybe one of the powers of the ocean is sentient, or there's a sentience there. And if there is sentience in the ocean, and it's all not
Is
mentioned,
this the
then
first?
I would
Is this
say
the
this
first
is Osse.
step of validating that stupid "sea is always right" thing from season 1?
I'm not really. I was never happy with that motto, that slogan, whatever it is.
Okay.
But It
if
might be
Sauron never
that.
touched these rings, the other thing is
No.
some
Do you know
people
what the elves don't say that. The elves don't say it.
I
Only
get
the
it. I get
Numenorians
it.
say that.
So
No, I don't think it's connected.
the other thing, I would understand if Ulmo doesn't want Sauron's corruption in its waters. But according to everything, Sauron hasn't touched these rings. Sauron hasn't poisoned these rings. So why would the ocean be spitting these rings back if they are not corrupted by Sauron?
Ask me that question again. Why would the oceans not accept them and reject them?
Why would the ocean reject these rings if they are uncorrupted by Sauron?
Maybe Aussie, who might be an unspoken presence in the waters, realizes that the rings are powerful enough to help the Eldar.
That's what the chat is saying.
So
The sea is literally saying, "Hey guys, don't destroy it. Elrond's wrong."
I also think that maybe Cirdan is aware of the sentience of the waters at this moment, and that's why he looks inside the bag. Yeah. Thank you,
when he looks in the bag, is he getting corrupted?
No.
This is not a scene of corruption.
The 3 elven rings do not induce corruption, so there's no need to ask that. That is not what happens. Corruption happens with all the 7, the 9, especially the 1.
But this plays
there's no
like
corruption
it from
happening
a
with the 3 rings.
Standpoint?
But there's a temptation to have power. The 3 rings don't present corruption, but they represent a huge temptation. And according to Professor Tolkien's letters, power in his storytelling is always presented as a dire thing that causes great problems and bad consequences. Power is what is being offered, not corruption. Get it? So still, thematically, if you're trying to keep it as Tolkienian as you can keep it, then you're on point. You are thematically on point that the 3 rings and the immense power they present is problematic. Not corrupting, but can be problematic. And here's why. Let me tell you in 2 sentences. Tolkien said that the main sin, major, number 1 sin committed by the elves was their pursuit of deathlessness, their pursuit of preserving, like the way that Galadriel preserves Lothlorien with the power of her ring. Instead of letting things take their natural course, the elves wanted to stop time, stop decay, stop the dissolution of things. And so the temptation of the rings and what is problematic and a sin, a grave problem, was that the elves ultimately creating beautiful, magical forests and a realm of gorgeous artworks and beauty and elvish culture, but still not allowing time to pass the way time is supposed to pass. And that is hugely tied in to the thematic issue of the elves staying in Middle-earth when they're supposed to go back to Valinor. Instead, they're approaching timelessness and deathlessness, which is not natural. It's not supposed to be that way. So that is what it's all thematically around. Are you with me, chat? Are you guys? Yeah? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Katie. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think I got that point as lucidly as I could get that point. Justin, we don't use the word corruption in the same sentence with the 3 rings. We use temptation of power, and the power that will keep the elves in Middle-earth for thousands of years longer than they are supposed to be there, with their effort to slow down the process of decay and time. And that is the biggest thematic thing in Tolkien, one of the biggest things in his,
all right, final question
all of his storytelling,
on this.
one of the biggest things, right?
Was there anything with the Silmarils where the earth itself, whether the ocean or the earth, rejected the Silmarils?
Yeah, I believe one of the Silmarils was rejected by the ocean. My brain is gonna have to check that. No,
So
was it?
this is thematically, like, this is so Tolkien it hurts in so many ways. This could be seen as Eru Iluvatar interfering in one of the rare instances. This could be Olmo, the sea god,
Or
telling
Aussie?
Aussie,
Yeah,
saying, "Hey, don't do it. You really need this." Like this is multiple
Maglor.
levels
Yep.
of this is
No,
multiple
you're right.
levels of and then
Maglor casts a Silmaril into the sea, but it's not rejected. Um, yeah, but I I did remember that halfway. Um,
okay.
one of the Silmarils ends up thrown to the ocean by Maglor. The second Silmaril ends up on the brow of Eärendil, and he is in the sky now, going across the heavens as the morning star, as Venus. But that is the bright Silmaril. Where did the third? Where did the third one end up? You guys tell me in the chat, because my brain is not working today.
All right.
Um,
So
I had a little bit too much fun at the karaoke bar last night. Baron took one. Okay. Oh, that's right. Maethros. Maethros took the third one and he jumped into a chasm. And so one was claimed by the ocean, one was claimed by the earth. You're right, guys. That is absolutely correct. He cast himself into a chasm. So one Silmaril taken by the earth, one taken by the deep ocean, and the third one is up in heaven, in the heavens, on
can
the
we
brow
just
of Eärendil, right?
so
Got
I
it.
just
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
the
Thank you, chat.
fandom, the global fandom of Tolkien is
Yeah.
erupting with joy over this shot. This is exactly what a beautiful, diverse society of elves should look like. Tolkien describes dark elves, light elves, brown-haired elves, silver-haired elves, blonde-haired elves, long-hair elves, short-hair elves. Tolkien describes all types of elves.
Yeah.
And this is wonderful to see on screen. And I'm so lucky to be living in a time where we're going to see some amazing cosplay from a variety of people around the world of all different cultures start
Mm-hmm.
to cosplay and embrace
Yep.
this fandom.
Yep. No, look, I agree with that. I love seeing the great cosplay that I'm seeing. Um, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films are porcelain white all the way through. And then in the Hobbit movies, when you get to Lake Town, yes, that's right, when you get to Esgaroth upon the Long Lake, suddenly Peter has lots and lots of different people, lots of different melanin, lots of different cultures, people, and they're all there, as if he suddenly remembered that this exists in Middle Earth. So Peter Jackson didn't correct that until the second Hobbit film, The Desolation of Smaug, just for the record. But yeah, I agree.
Th-
This is great, and it's
this
inspiring.
is also
Inspiring to see the
this
fans embrace these new looks and get to do cosplay. It's so cool.
This is
It's
also
really cool.
this is also a reason why I would love a whole episode dedicated to Elrond on the Run. I want Elrond interacting with all of these people. I want Elrond saying, "Will you help me?" and them shutting the door on his face, or I have to get to Gil-galad. I have to get to Cirdan. Like I would have loved to see a scene, and this is where the 8 episodes every 2 years structure of the production process is failing the show. Or it's not failing the show, but it is failing all of the potential of the show. Because if this was a regular 16 episode season or 22 episode season like Lost or Sleepy Hollow or Supernatural, if this was a regular TV show, an hour long, once a week, there would have been enough time to have a whole episode dedicated to Elrond on the Run, interacting with
Hmm.
each one of these people. And I
Hmm.
love that the actors and actresses are finally revealing themselves on Twitter. And if you follow any of the Unhinged Fellowship, you can see them interacting, retweeting, commenting on the beautiful actors that have been cast as elves. And Turns out there's a whole group chat of most of these actors. There's a whole group WhatsApp chat going on of being an elf in Rings of Power. And that's just so lovely. And the friendships are building from the inside out. And I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
All right.
What I don't like about this scene, Cliff, is that this whole thing about the rings dropping, this is a whole minute and a half. This is 90 seconds of the precious screen time that we just described has been shortchanged. Why is there this fake tension for 90 seconds of will she, won't she pick it up? Will she put the ring on? There's all this like manufactured tension right now on something that everybody in the worldwide audience knows what's going to happen. She puts the ring on and she never takes it off. Like, we know she wears the ring. We know she uses the ring.
I see your point.
We know she is the ring bearer of this ring. So this, I felt like you're giving 2 minutes of screen time for a piece of dramatic irony, or I don't know what to call it, a piece of tension that doesn't work. This tension doesn't work because we already know the result. She puts on the ring, he puts on the ring, and all the rings work. So I feel like that's just a filmmaking comment. And whether it's the directors or the editing. So that was just my soft little criticism on the scene. I wasn't feeling the tension because we already know the results. But maybe that's just an old man complaint.
The reason why they're spending that much time on it is because it is such an iconic moment. It is history in the making. It is one of the most defining moments for her character, that she does become a ring bearer, and she takes on the ring of adamant. Nenya. Okay.
Why do you call it the ring of adamant?
Narya is in the hands of Cirdan, and Vilya is in the hands of the High King, Gil-galad. I don't mind that they went into slow motion.
That's the first time she's smiled since she rode a horse.
What? I don't know.
All right.
Know.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But Cliff, you called it the Ring of Adamant. It's also called Narya or Nenya or something like that. At what point do we get those names?
No, excuse me. Narya is the Ring of Fire. Her ring is Nenya.
Nenya, the Ring of Water, and that's what causes the water horses to come down the river.
No. That was a bit of Gandalf's magic. No, Elrond has magic in the river, Bruinen, at the crossing of the ford, but the horses were an extra touch of Gandalf's magic, and he admitted it himself. Read the books, sir. Read the books.
What? No, show it to me.
Gandalf's
I want to see some of these magic. Elrond has magic? What?
Elrond? Yeah, Elrond has. They have magic protecting
when do
the
you
ford
think these
of Bruinen.
get named? When do you think these get named?
The rings? I don't know. Maybe they have been named off screen and they didn't even mention it yet. There seem to be a lot of things happening off screen, and then suddenly, pop, they edit, and we're in a situation or we're in a scenario. That's one of the things that I'm nitpicking myself. One of those things, yeah. But
that's one of my biggest frustrations of season 2. There's a lot more going on, and I appreciate it, but there's too much important stuff happening off screen. Like the thing I really appreciate about Peter Jackson's and Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyan's writing style is that they tell you things like Nadia, Ring of the Elves. Like there's little dialogue cues of what you're watching, what you're about to watch, or where you're about to go. And in this show, there's no setup of like, do we know that the 3 rings are different? Do we know that each ring has a different power? Like, what?
It has a different name.
And by the way, why does Galadriel supposedly have the ring of water, but Cirdan's ring is playing with water.
She has the ring of adamant.
What's the ring of adamant? What does that even mean?
Adamant is another word for diamond. It's the ring of adamant. But okay, look, you guys.
All right,
we're
just
already
nitpicking.
we're already at 6:30, and we have so many other things to talk about. Are we going to get through all 3 episodes today?
Well, so let me ask you, the Cliff. I mean, what are we looking at for time? I've got time. What do you want to do? Do we want to do multiple streams this week, or do we want to power through this premiere? I'm down to hang out. If everybody in the audience is here and down to clown, what do you want to do? What do you guys want to do? Because episode 4 comes out in 48 hours.
It's
episode 4 comes out in 48 hours.
Can we speed through? Because as it's getting dark, there are coyotes in my neighborhood that will eat my cat. So I need to get my cat inside because it's getting dark out. So everybody knows that that's important. And everyone loves Mithrandir, my little gray wanderer, my kitty cat. Through. So let's power through. All right. But let's hit the highlights. The highlights for me is the amazing level of manipulation that Anatar is doing to poor Celebrimbor's, and that Celebrimbor's ego is totally on top of the pyramid of what is happening. We know that he's an apex artist, an artisan, a creator. We know that Celebrimbor is the grandson of Feanor, and he is an apex artist at the top of his game. And that also means that his ego is at the top of the game too, and Anatar is all over it, all over that. And he is really playing him, and it's great to watch. It's really great to watch. All
right, we don't get our first taste until episode 2 of the dwarves, and
there's a couple of shots in episode 1 of the dwarves, isn't there? Yeah, there's a shot, and
okay.
Isn't it where the light shafts are collapsing because there's seismic activity from Orodruin? The elves call it Orodruin. We call it Mount Doom. But there's seismic activity that's causing.
There was comments on our Discord this week that says because there's so many characters, and this new season episode at such a fast pace, do you think that they should have more lower thirds? Like, should the characters have lower thirds? Should the rooms have lower thirds? Like, should they be using the text on screen, like we see here, in more of the edit?
These things are used sparingly. They only use the lower third when they're introducing the place for the first time in the episode. All the other times they go back, they don't reuse the lower thirds. But they only, at this point, I don't think they need to do these lower thirds. I really don't think they need to do them.
I think they're doing it. I will say about the lower third, it was one of the least enjoyed things about season 1 when Southlands morphed into the word Mordor. And that's what I'm talking about with like the difference in dialogue with Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens. You will hear a character say, "What shall we call it, Master? This new land will be called Mordor," or something like that.
Oh, we talked about this after the viewing. And here, allow me to mention this. This is my idea. It would have been probably better or more interesting instead of doing that thing. I don't want to rehash everything in season 1, but if the characters were speaking about Mordor in the linguistic sense, because it was an elvish word, and it would have been interesting if Adar knew that the power of language is more important than just about anything else, and if the character behaved with the central philosophy that language is very, very powerful, which is right in line with Professor Tolkien. Adar could have had a side conversation with any of his Uruks and said, "We will call it something that will be spoken of on the tongues of elves and men throughout the next ages of the world. This will be Mordor, our own land. Instead of using a title card that changes and then the new word appears, it would have been interesting if the Uruk said, why? Why, sir, would we call it that using the language of the elves? And then Adar would have said in response, because their language is the one that lasts. The elven language is the one that lasts. So that's why we're using the language of the elves to call it Mordor. I think that's a more interesting idea than using a title change, but whatever. Now, moving on to season 2 and how cool it is. We're back in Khazad-dûm. It's
love
so
the Khazad-dûm
beautiful
stuff. Everything works.
Yeah.
Cliff, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see Howard Shore's music and intro remains.
Howard Shore's music would not leave. They're going to use it for 5 seasons. They're totally going to use it for 5 seasons.
I love it.
And,
there was some gossip. There was some Green Dragon gossip between the 2 seasons that they may switch out Howard Shore's title with something from Bear McCreary.
Well, I'm glad they did not. That's a rumor that I'm glad did not manifest.
So you think they should keep Howard Shore's music the whole time?
I love it. I would be really pleased if Howard Shore came back and did more, like a surprise bit of thing here and there. But Bear McCreary is doing flawlessly. He's doing amazing with what he's doing.
By the way, this is a much better title treatment than season 1. It looks like
different.
Metal. It looks like sand forged together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's compare that with season 1. Season 1 just looks like pretty bad graphics, like you would see on a newscast, and then compare that with something that looks like etched in metal.
Yeah, that's
much
pretty
better.
badass. Okay, let's jump ahead. All right, we're talking about
Did you like
great
this
foreshadowing.
Did you like this nightmare?
Yeah, that nightmare sequence was great foreshadowing. Really great stuff. And
for
it's
people
a
that
callback.
haven't read the books, go ahead. Sorry.
It's a callback to Adar planting the seeds that he does. It's a callback. It's pretty cool. Really cool.
For people that haven't read the book, this is great. And he turns into a tree right there. It's
He turns into a horrible version of one of those sculptures in the wood.
They never never quite get into what she's feeling. And I think Cliff, you and I talked a little bit about this. How episode 2 really feels like every character speaking in platitudes the whole time. They're not really having deep conversations about what they're feeling. They're speaking it more in high platitudes. I don't know how else to describe it. Like,
some of the elves are guilty of that. You know, the stranger from time to time is, excuse me. He's someone who has a beautiful platitude to share every now and then. But what's really good is when you're saying that they're not getting into how much Galadriel is feeling, but they do. When the High King and Galadriel go off to the side and start having a real forthcoming, above-board conversation about where they're standing there and the rings are starting to have an effect on them. And that's it. That's the scene. That's the one where she's saying, isn't it having an effect on you too? And Gil-galad is like hiding the ring with his other hand. And you get this foreshadowing that the power that they're holding on to is having some surprising side effects. And soon, they're going to have to introduce the idea of telepathy, because the bearers of the rings are able to use telepathy, and this is written specifically by Professor Tolkien, that they can speak to each other through their minds using telepathy with these 3 rings. And this is the beginning of that. This conversation is the beginning of that.
Okay.
I'm
looking forward to see where this goes.
Me too. Really cool stuff.
I feel I don't know. The staging of the scene I don't know. Uh, I
Well,
just
this
I,
is what you get in episodic television. It is the way it is because it is television. Television has people and places that have by artifice, by the artifice of the writers being as clever as they can, you always have to have a conceit to have people having a conversation at a certain place and time. I can't, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that that's the way it is. You're in the
this
medium of television and you've got to get so much information out and you don't want to have large exposition dumps all the time. No, you don't. I mean,
it just
look,
this is what feels
you
like the
gotta have it. It's
CW.
just,
It just feels like let's put two characters walking down a hallway and
yeah.
and
RJ wants to talk
reveal.
about the baby orc.
We'll
RJ
get
wants to
there.
talk
We're
about the
not
baby
even
orc.
talking about orcs yet, but we've
Okay,
got
well,
some
we gotta
stuff to
get
say
there.
about that. But this is what I mean when I talk about CW. I don't know. It's like $1 billion CW show. But maybe
I don't
that's the
know.
nature of television. I don't know. There's got to be a more cinematic way to talk about what they're feeling, to show what they're feeling with the rings. Like they do a couple cut-ins where a close-up where he like covers his ring, but I feel like back to Peter Jackson. I hate to compare it, but Peter Jackson would have maybe had like some sound, like a low reverb going on of like, like a heartbeat, where like some as a viewer you're starting to feel what these characters feel based on the sound that you're hearing and the pulsing. I don't know. I think there's visual cues to communicate what's going on in their heads with those rings, and I'm not getting it yet. But maybe I'm supposed to, because she just had a nightmare about it, and she had a nightmare standing up in the meeting. So maybe I'm just messing up here. All right, continue, carry on. We liked everything in Aragon.
I don't agree
great.
with the CW comparison, but I do
right.
agree that there's more room for development. This was a logical mistake. A logical mistake to only send a couple of messengers, and we don't even know who killed them. But with
Also,
that
this is a flashback.
critical piece of information
Yes,
to tell them that Halbrand was Sauron, and you only sent a couple of messengers, that was a critical, logical moment where I'm like, what?
Well, Gil-galad does said he's sending his best. Remember, Gil-galad said we're sending our best. I did not like this scene being cut as a flashback. I think it would have been a little better if this show just plays out narratively as it happens.
Okay, I see your point.
This scene is presented in flashback because Sauron is already in Aragon. They've already let him through the gates.
Everybody says in the chat that it was the Barrow Whites that killed the messengers, and I don't know how we know that.
I don't know
how we know that yet.
All right.
Excellent design in Rune. The place in Rune is so interesting. It's really cool. And that shot with the rider coming forward with the sunset is pure Akira Kurosawa. Absolutely. That is, I've never seen a more specific tip of the hat to Kurosawa than I have in that shot. Really specific. Really good. I liked it.
For me, it's a shame
go
that
let my
it's
cat
wasted on a nobody character.
Yeah.
Like, I think the difference between like a feature film director, and shots like this that stay with us is not just because it's beautiful to look at, because this is stunning, and they shot it for real. And Alex Dizanoff has spoken on Instagram about this, but it's a nothing character. It's a nobody character. We still don't even know this character's name or its heritage or everything like that. This shot would have been more iconic if it was a character that we cared about. And that's another thing that I feel like this show, as a CW show, is missing out on. You've got $1 billion of budget on screen, and it looks great and it sounds great, but these visuals are not being used for the characters that we care about. And so the visuals are just throwaway. Whereas this shot in Indiana Jones, when he's got an army digging for the Holy Grail, or not Holy Grail, for the Ark of the Covenant, it's iconic because it's Indy. We see Indy. We know that's Indy's silhouette. And it's iconic because it's not just a throwaway shot of a nothing character. It's Indy. And I would have really loved this. This would have been my favorite shot in the whole show if it was a character we cared about. If this was Sauron on horseback, everyone would be putting Rings of Power on its top 5 list as most beautiful shows ever. But this shot is wasted on a nothing character. All right, what did you think of the new wizard?
Maybe that is a nothing character now who will become a much, much more important character later on. We do not know yet.
But that's the point. That's the point. If you want visuals to stick with us and create that cultural moment, that huge cultural moment, the visuals and the characterization and the narrative and the story have to line up. But when you have beautiful shots like that on a character we don't care about yet, it's just a throwaway shot.
I agree with Erovandi that I also really hope that the Dark Wizard, played by Kieran Hines, is not Saruman. Matt, Nerd of the Rings, has purported a really popular theory that the Stranger is one of the Blue Wizards and Kieran Hines is the other one of the Blue Wizards. So we don't know yet, but maybe all of this time we have been seeing Alatar and Palando this whole time. We just haven't gotten their proper names in front of us yet. And this would be a really interesting approach. That would be a very interesting approach. Yeah. Oh, we're getting hearts in the live chat because of that. You got to excuse me, but I've got to go get my cat inside before the coyotes get him. So I'll be back in a minute.
All right. Well, while Cliff's away, I'm so hard to please. I am sorry, guys. I am so hard to please. But you introduced a second wizard without naming him. You're asking a lot of us. I think everybody in the world has universally...
I think they're building up the surprise. They're not telling us the names so that we can all be delighted that they are Alatar and Palando.
We said no more mystery boxes. Just tell it. Just give us the characters so we can enjoy our time. Did you get
I agree. I want to throw the mystery boxes out of the window at this point. Yes, I agree.
What? He came back to say that. Anyway, I think not naming this wizard, all they needed to do was have one of his acolytes here name him Lord, or Great Wizard, Or I remember when Gandalf says, "I will go to speak to Saruman. He is the leader of our order." Like of the other adaptations, they tell you what the character's name is before you even meet them. We will go see Galadriel. Oh, the Witch of the Woods. I will go see Saruman. He is the wisest of our order. So once again, we have another wizard that we don't know who he is. The games are not fun. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, I don't have any spoilers, but I can tell you right now, Jeff Bezos paid $1 billion for this show. He's getting the 2 most famous wizards in history. And I hate to tell you this, and you can fan theory all you want. That's Saruman, and the other dude's Gandalf. There's no way he paid $1 billion not to have the 2 greatest wizards in literature history on Prime Video. This is Saruman. What shoes to fill for Christopher Lee. But fantastic. He looks great. He sounds great. I'm really excited. But don't get your hopes up thinking this is a blue wizard or anything else. This is not Roma Stamo. This is Saruman, and the other guy is going to name Gandalf. It's really that simple. That's what they licensed the Lord of the Rings books. They paid $1 billion for this show. Jeff Bezos is going to get the most famouses of wizards. That is Saruman. That is Saruman. I don't know how anyway. So I know people that have seen all 8 episodes this season, but they have not told me anything. So I'm not telling you guys anything out of line other than that's Sauron guy. That's Saruman, guys. Like, it is. Saruman was not evil in the beginning. We don't know how long he's been here. We don't know how long he's been evil. Maybe he was using Gandalf all these years. Maybe Gandalf and Tom gang up on this guy by the end of the season and convince him that the path of good and righteousness is a better path for Middle-earth. Also, remember, the wizards are not supposed to be in Middle-earth. They're only sent there for a purpose. They're not supposed to be there, and they're not supposed to stay there.
Hello.
But
okay. Yes.
The other thing is, I feel like Kieran Hines is one of my favorite actors. He is just a wonderful, and if you're not watching The Terror on Netflix, watch that. But
okay, that's intriguing.
I feel like this character could have used a wonderful actor from Iran, Arabia, India. I feel like this is such a big magical character that I would have loved to see a non-white actor in this role, in such a powerful role.
Yes.
And what a way to
I
introduce.
Appreciate that.
Like, you can get someone on the level of Kieran Hines on India, like who's a known name in India or Brazil or Singapore or Iran or any other place other than England or Wales.
They sure could have.
Where's he from? Wales? Kieran?
I thought Kieran Hines was Irish, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe it is Irish, but
maybe he's Irish.
I don't know. Like, and so I would have loved to see a wizard played by a non-white actor, but then when this scene come up and the way they lit him in his introduction, he kind of looks like they could have casted a non-white actor and it would have worked anyways.
I always wanted to have Ken Watanabe show up as one of our blue wizards.
He's
just
not blue.
Going with the idea that these might be the blue wizards, but we don't know.
I love that Birdie says
they can't hear me.
Back. Your audio
looks
is
like
on.
My audio is on. Yeah, hold on. I will mute.
I can see his levels on the stream.
Then I will unmute. Am I okay?
Oh, you just let me run on a tangent. They thought that you weren't interrupting. All right, so and my final thought on this scene is I love that Birdie is back on the show. I think she was a fan favorite.
Yeah, she's cool.
She looks like Eminem a little bit, but no, she just looks. Everything in this scene is very Tolkien and magic. Even the guys with the mask.
RJ McReady makes a really specific point, and I was going to mention it later, but you did. Nori calls the staff that the stranger is seeking a Gand, Gand. He had a dream about a Gand. That's what Nori is saying. And it is really on the nose. If the showrunners make them the Blue Wizards, then it will do a ton of goodwill towards the fans. Thank you.
I don't
Very
think
good,
so.
RJ.
I think these wizards are definitely Gandalf and Saruman.
I don't agree. And Matt, Nerd of the Rings, also says that it'd be Saruman does not turn evil until late in the Third Age during the War of the Ring. It just doesn't happen now, thousands of years earlier. It does not happen. No, it doesn't.
I think
Saruman.
He chooses sides based on whatever.
Saruman. Do you know who Saruman is greeted by on the shore? Cirdan. Cirdan at the Grey Havens greets Saruman when he arrives as Curonir in the Third Age. But hey,
you don't
we're doing
spend $1 billion without getting Saruman and Gandalf, the two most famous wizards. You just don't
think. No, all right. Let's move on because it's 7:00. Let's move on.
The chat room really loved the fact that the Wandering Day song lyrics turned into a map that they followed.
A navigation turns into a navigation. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Um, I
I
am.
felt the music cues in the whole rune scene had too much flute that reminded me of Star Wars A New Hope, especially when R2 and C3PO land on Tatooine. There's a
Oh.
lot of flute music cues in
Mm-hmm.
this in all of these desert scenes that every
Mm-hmm.
time I heard a flute in this storyline, I immediately was transported to Tatooine. And I
Mm.
believe that Bear McCreary and McPain are students of pop culture, and in some ways, what a great reference to reference other pop culture things. But I was taken out of the story because I was transported to Star Wars every time I heard the music cues in the desert. That's just me. But I did like how the Harfoots disappeared with their uh with the way they hide. Like they just quickly disappeared and no one could see them. And it is a callback to Frodo and Sam disappearing under the rock at
I
the gate.
I do not know. I'm trying to figure out the use of the word Gand, and it's the French name of the city of Ghent. So I don't know.
Camouflage, that's the
I
word I
don't know
was
if the
looking for.
chat can help out with this, but I really want to know how we got to Nori. Uh, is that a particular word used by um, Harfoots?
They just
But I
made it
wonder
up.
what the definition of a Gand is. Something they made up?
The writers just
Hmm.
made up the word.
Oh, hold on. It's an Old Norse word. They did not make it up. Gand, or Gandre with an R on the end, is the Old Norse word for wand or staff, which is incorporated into the names of many Norse mythological and legendary figures.
Perfect.
Wow. See, Gandalf. Yep, it's an actual specific reference to Gandalf. Wow. It took me a minute to find that.
So,
Old Norse word. Wow. Okay. Well, then them using that word Gand really does make it seem like this character, the stranger, is not one of the Blue Wizards. But I
all right,
guess we'll
Cliff,
find
give
out.
us your opinions on this whole storyline as you've seen so far.
The traveling to the east,
Yeah,
the rune storyline.
yeah.
Um, um, it is. There's not enough yet. There's not enough yet. But so far, I find it interesting that they have to go to such a dangerous and desperate effort just to follow a vision that he has to follow that constellation that
Were
far.
you put
Um,
off by Poppy showing up?
um,
It's fine.
was I put off? No, I wasn't put off by Poppy showing up.
Okay, that's
Um,
fine. The
no,
next
I wasn't put
episode
off.
this Thursday at midnight. Again, I got a
It
text
was rather
message during
sweet.
the show. We can confirm for you, everybody watching. We can confirm it for you. Episode 4 drops at 12:01 midnight Pacific on Thursday. So
Good.
we
Okay,
are less than 36 hours away
we are.
from.
Okay,
We're less than 36 hours away. So 12:01 midnight, 3 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. London is when episode 4 drops. And episode 4 features. Should we tell them? Well, you guys have already seen the preview for episode 4. Episode 4 features stores.
yep, stores.
Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, stores and Tom Bombadil. Yay.
And we've heard potentially the ghost guys. What were they named?
The whites.
The whites. Bear whites.
Okay. Um, let's jump ahead. Interesting note, the person that is conspiring to capture the stranger and Nori and Poppy under those big masks, the person conspiring with the Dark Wizard probably has leprosy or a type of leprosy, because he said, if you lift the curse from off of our skin, then we will go and capture this guy, the stranger. So that's why they're all bundled up in fabric. That's why you don't see their faces. They are suffering from some kind of a malady. I don't know exactly what it is, but one would assume it might be
Yeah,
um,
I'm looking at the chat.
leprosy.
I'm not gonna
And there are
say
going to
what,
be Ents. There have to be
and
Ents in
Ents. Ents,
episode 4. Must
Stores,
have Ents.
Barrow Whites,
Yes.
and Tom Bombadil. So next episode is a whole lot of lore. Whole lot of lore.
Yep.
Quite possibly, could, if they do it right, could possibly be our favorite episode of the whole season. But whether we're looking forward to any of that, we're not here to
Forage
talk about
Blade.
that. We're 30.
Okay.
We're less than 30 hours away from seeing it at midnight Pacific.
Yes, we are.
Cliff, what did you think of the introduction of Narvi?
Surprising, Narvi shows up and he's there and he starts being the information man who knows more about everything. Narvi was a great way to do an exposition dump for the audience. Great. It was totally great. But it gives us the impression that Narvi is very busy, very sought after, and has a great deal of perceptive skill. A great deal of perceptive skill. So when does Celebrimbor make friends with Narvi? I wonder when that's going to happen. Maybe there's going to be rings distributed to the dwarves in the next few episodes. So that's something to look forward to.
I had no preconceived notions of what Narvi looks like. So there's Narvi.
Hey, RJ makes a good point. Cliff, if the stranger is indeed Gandalf, Tom Bombadil, the one who Elrond didn't even invite to the council, as he can't be bothered with the outside world, Tom Bombadil giving Gandalf advice on his purpose in Middle-earth is unhinged. I really appreciate that point. I really do.
Let's wait until we see the episode.
Okay.
Remember, the leaks have said that Tom Bombadil helps Gandalf remember who you are.
That was also my theory. I've been theorizing that myself. I don't know if the leaks said that to me. I just theorized it myself. Do you know the best thing about Khazad-dûm is this amazing relationship with father and son? It's so amazing. We might as well just jump ahead to episode 3 because I've got to talk about that. It's so good. Disa
are you on board
and
with
the songstresses, the dwarven songstresses, losing their ability to sing spiritually to the mountain was an interesting touch. Very interesting. I thought that was cool.
And using earthquakes to get rid of the sun, yeah, it's it's so well thought out. Like everything about the dwarven storyline is so well thought out.
Yeah, agreed. I dig it.
All right, so some more stuff. This was interesting conversation, Cliff, don't you think? This is where Elrond looks at Galadriel like he never left you. Like he's still rattling in your brain there.
Yeah, that was interesting. Galadriel would not have taken that from anybody. I think Elrond is one of the few people in all of Middle-earth where Galadriel would actually take that type of criticism. And
Cliff,
it's
do you
really
want to hear
interesting.
Do you want to hear the dirty green dragon gossip?
I don't know. Do I?
Well, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I don't know if this is real because people have seen the entire season, but we don't know if people are just throwing mud at the wall and trying to distract us. So I'm going to put my hand up. And when I put my hand down, you can come back to the show. So spoiler alert while the hand is up. Cliff.
Then if it's that much of a spoiler, then don't say it.
But I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's real.
Okay. All right. So he's about to spoil something that might or might not be real. So maybe it's not a spoiler, but put your hand up for the period of time so that these folks can put mute.
At the premiere. Oh, that was the week that you took off. At the premiere, Galadriel said, or Morphith said, the most interesting thing about season 2 is there will be a kiss, and he can't wait to see everybody's reaction. The rumors are, and this could be totally fake, the rumors are the kiss Galadriel has is not with Celeborn, and it's not with Halbrand, and it's not with Anatar.
That can't happen. They're related. That's so dumb.
That's the rumors.
That is so dumb.
I'm saying
Oh
this
my
to
God.
prepare our audience.
Oh my God, that is
Prepare our audience, because I don't want you throwing a remote at the TV and breaking your TV. I don't want you to turn off the show and walk away from the series. But the rumors are the kiss.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, come
Cliff,
off. All right.
If this is true, is this a walk away from the show moment?
I'm not looking for I'm not looking for reasons to be that.
Could it be in a nightmare? We've just seen a nightmare with Celebrimbor and Galadriel. Maybe the kiss is in a nightmare. Maybe her gift of foresight is the kiss, and she realizes that's not the kiss. Means there is a family connection with Elrond in the future, but it's not totally clear.
Galadriel and Elrond are first cousins, thrice removed. Okay. And also, because Elrond was the great-great-grandson of Fingolfin, brother of Finarfin, Galadriel's father, thus they are first cousins, thrice removed through another line of relationship. Galadriel's grandfather and Elrond's great-great-grandfather were brothers. Thus, they are second cousins twice removed. Then Elrond got married to Galadriel's daughter, Celebrian, who is a character that I really hope to see in season 3 or 4.
Celeborn doesn't exist in the show. He's dead.
Galadriel is Elrond's mother-in-law. So there you go. All right, you can put your hand down. All right.
Spoilers
he put his
over.
Hand down.
We're not going to talk about it.
So I don't even want to go to
silly.
that nonsense.
It's just
crazy
silly.
Nonsense.
But I did like as a Galadriel fan, I did like this scene, because Cliff, they actually edited in a shot from season 1 of Sauron and Galadriel having a conversation. Like, there is no bones about this. Galadriel is real. It's intentional. The filmmakers intended for...
No, I would like to gently counterpoint that the showrunners and the creators of the show did not create a romantic bond, and it was not romance that Sauron was offering her. He was offering her power. And again, power comes with great moral danger. I didn't ever pick up a romantic inclination between the two of them. I didn't pick that up.
You've never been in love.
Yeah, I have. I have been in love.
When you're in love, you can take over the world.
So, no.
That's what they were offering.
I can't even with you. All right. Let's talk.
All right.
I've already talked about how wonderful the Grey Havens are, the location. I've talked about how wonderful Cirdan is. Let's jump forward and find our next
real quick,
bit.
your opinion
It's
on Cirdan's shaving.
Oh, that was pretty cool. Maybe with the presence of the ring, he feels younger. And if he's feeling a little bit younger because the ring is making him feel refreshed and revitalized, maybe it's time for a fresh new look.
That's what I feel like. The shaving isn't just a fun little thing with a seashell. I feel like this is literally a sign of the ring bringing youth.
Having an influence on him? Yeah. Well,
I wonder if he grows younger through the season.
He doesn't.
All right.
Oh, RJ says that having Cirdan shave is an absolute troll move after giving him the signature beard. I would have been
How?
happy with him staying. I
How is that a troll move?
because
Because Kieran,
everybody wants him to be bearded. So guess what? You get him bearded for 5 minutes, and now you don't. So
everybody wins. Everybody wins.
I think it's really beautiful. The Grey Havens is a beautiful set, beautiful physical location. I think it's really awesome.
Why was it
Now
called
let's.
Grey Havens if it's all orange?
What?
Moving on.
It's not all orange. You're so silly.
Did you like
All right.
the magic of the ring in this little puddle?
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah, I did too. This show is good when you're playing with rings. When Elrond is absconding with the rings, when the rings are getting tossed back from the water, when the rings are being made and melted and smelted, when the rings are being put underwater. The show is called Rings of Power, and boy, man, if we can just up the screen time for the rings, this show is going to get really good.
I agree. I agree that with TD Matthew that this conversation is the highlight. It's a great highlight. It's great. Let's jump ahead because this is the part where he loses control of his powers again, and then it becomes that movie Twister. And it is literally like a sign of.
What about him breaking his staff? Not his staff,
Yeah,
the staff he found.
That staff is broken. He's going to need another one. But
That's
the
Tom
stranger
Baum's staff, right?
No, that was just a staff that was stuck on the well to, I think it was
staff.
a physical piece of the well.
Tom Baum always has had a hooked staff like that.
I don't know that Bombadil ever had a hooked staff.
All right, maybe I'm looking at the wrong artwork.
Yeah, Julia is right. Let's get to the orc baby. You know what? That sandstorm.
Where's the orc baby?
Could have been
episode
lethal,
3?
really lethal. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the two halflings, or one of the two Harfoots, doesn't make it because that would have been totally lethal.
Orc baby.
Yeah, that's the end of episode 2. That's the end of episode 2.
Boy, I did not like episode 3 as much as the other two. Well, I'm just going to say that up front.
The relationship between Durin and his father made me cry. I just got to say that. The relationship between Durin talking to his father and them trying to find a space for forgiveness between the two of them flushed my brain with memories of my very difficult relationship with my father. I have a particularly estranged relationship with my own father, and there was something about the emotional veracity of father and son talking to each other. It really got to me. It was exceptionally good that the king and the son had that moment. It was so good, and for me it was the big emotional highlight so far. Oh, and I will also say that Bronwyn got a spectacular funeral. She got a better funeral than Thorin did in the original theatrical cut of Battle of the Five Armies. Thorin Oakenshield does not get a funeral, but Bronwyn got a beautiful, beautiful funeral. The sequence was emotionally devastating, beautifully shot, nothing but praise for that.
And
that
there's
was all
character
good
development with Theo
really good
overhearing the conversation. Like that whole scene was very well set up and very well done.
And really beautifully done. Yeah, him overhearing Isildur, it was great.
And when Theo's like, "You're not the dad that step up, so get out of my life."
Yeah, that was good stuff. That was really good stuff with Theo and Arondir. And then ultimately, Theo having an emotional breaking point when he overhears Isildur talking about his family. It was really, really good.
Real quick, before we move forward, this episode 3 was written by Helen Shang. She has a singular credit. It's not co-written by anybody. It is Helen Shang. We're such a big fan. Such a big fan. Remember, she wrote this episode in 2018. Dang near 6 years ago. Imagine writing something and 6 years later, it's finally out. Incredible patience and virtue from Helen. Let me see if I can bring up a tweet. She says, wow, why is that so small? She says, Beric the horse, she spent so long with you. She says, Beric the horse, I spent so long with you and Isil on the page. You truly are the bestest boy, an Oscar-winning performance. Instead of performance. We love Beric, and we love that she gave Beric a whole thing. So congrats to Helen Shang. The other thing I should mention is this episode has 2 directors, Louise Hooper and Charlotte Brandstrom. This is proof that they have constantly been re-editing this season and putting different scenes from different episodes into different episodes. Because originally, Charlotte Brandstrom shot episode 1 and 2, 7 and 8. Louise Hooper shot this episode and I think the next one. So the fact that they're getting both credited here on episode 3 means that in editing, things moved around. So much so, not just a single scene here and there, but something significant happened in the edit where now they get dual credit on this episode.
Yep. And that stuff has to be negotiated by the Directors Guild, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it has to do with residual payments and everything like that. Like credit on an episode for as a writer and director is a huge deal. So this is a huge deal.
Absolutely.
So Clip, did you enjoy
look
the
who's
whole
safe? And I want everybody
horse?
to know not to be worried. Look who's safe back at home. I know that the chat was very worried, but don't be worried. The little gray wanderer has now wandered back in. He's safe and sound. All right, there he is.
Honestly, I was more excited to see Beric than I was Isildur.
Beric deserves his own show. Beric the horse deserves like maybe an animated series as a spinoff because it's all Beric all the time. It was some of the people in the chat said it was a bit overcooked. I don't think it was overcooked. I thought it was really fun to have this intelligent horse go killing orcs in the woods and then finding his lost buddy. It was so cool. I thought it was really cool.
Remember that rumor that the Maris get a whole dedicated episode?
The Meras. Oh, there was a rumor that there was an episode that was all specifically just the horses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny. Well, he gets a sequence. There's an entire sequence, but not a whole episode.
Again, if this show went to 12 episodes or 16 or 22 episodes per season, there would be room to have an entire horse episode.
And it would be praised all the way from the ends of the earth as being a really clever way to work an interstitial between larger plot moments. Oh, people would talk about it for years. They would,
I think Lord of the Rings deserves a 16 episode season, and just unleash the creativity of this. Like a bottle episode for horses would be amazing. A bottle episode of Elrond on the Run. That's not a bottle episode. That's a narrative episode. But like, yeah, a bottle episode about horses and the Maris and everything, and how that, and you can introduce how there's different hierarchies of horses without any dialogue in the whole episode. This is what you could do with $1 billion budget.
I do find it puzzling that we don't get 10 episodes this season. Why? There's no pandemic. They're at a new location. They've fully relocated to their new studios. They've got their entire new infrastructure. Everything's there. Why is it we only get 8 instead of 10 or 12? Because I don't get it yet. But maybe next season we'll get 10 or 12. Maybe.
Cliff,
really,
there was a
lot of spiders here.
This spider, is this Shelob, and how do we know it's Shelob?
No, I don't think it's Shelob. I think it's just some of her offspring. You know, she had lots and lots of offspring, and they went and entirely infested the forests of Mirkwood at a period of time when it was still Greenwood the Great. So, yeah, maybe Shelob is nearby, but I get the feeling that these are just her babies. all for little rugrats. That's what these are. Yeah. I do not get the feeling any of them are that particular Shelob.
Unfortunately, it is Shelob.
Is it?
And the only reason we know,
How do we know? Was it talked about in an interview that I didn't know?
let's bring it up on screen. This was a tweet from the Rings of Power official account.
Oh, Higgy Baby says that the musical theme that Bear wrote for this sequence is called Shelob. Okay, and Maxim did refer to Shelob in interviews. Thank you, chat, for clarifying all that for me. It looks like I am wrong. I'm glad to be wrong because sometimes I am.
Again, they've tweeted so much it's hard to keep up. But
Yes.
the name of the song is Shelob.
The name of the music score
and
track is Shelob.
They put it in a tweet somewhere.
Well, then, if that is Shelob, maybe Shelob was only the largest one.
Oh yeah,
the largest one that was there.
Here's a tweet. Shelob awaits your visit. Watch the 3-episode premiere of The Rings of Power.
Right. Shelob awaits your visit. Wow. Awaits you in darkness. Wow.
I mean,
gosh. Jumping around like a face hugger. Jumping around like alien Romulus. Those little spiders.
Shelob awaits your visit. So, which reminded me, Cliff, I don't remember Shelob being named in the movies by Peter Jackson.
Yes, they are. Looks like Shelob's been having a bit of fun. Yeah, the orcs from the tower of Cirith Ungol, name drop Shelob specifically.
Okay, so answer me this, Cliff. When does she get named in this show?
I don't know.
And how does she get named? Is like this is what
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, come on,
I mean,
television.
Isildur leaves this situation, but does not have a conversation with any of the other characters about this situation. He doesn't talk about it for the rest of the episode. So I can't answer you.
But how would he know that it's named something?
He wouldn't know unless he talks about it with someone and someone says, "Oh, you ran into Shelob."
I pray that that's an actual line of dialogue in the show, and I'm not even joking. I need someone. This goes back to what we were saying an hour ago about.
Everyone in the chat says she hasn't been named yet. So maybe she gets named after she takes up permanent residence in the high pass of the mountains above Cirith Ungol.
The soundtrack calls it Shelob. The tweet calls her Shelob. Like, but the show doesn't. This is what gets me. Like, put it on screen. Put it on screen, please.
The
put
last
it in
battle
the dialogue.
of Damrod.
The efficiency of Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens is they had the orcs speak Shelob's name in one simple sentence. That's it. She's only mentioned once by name in the movies.
Because Gollum or Smeagol never mentions her name.
No. So that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, Helen. I love you, and I hope you did put Shelob's name in there, and they edited it out because come on.
And okay, let's go up to. Hey, you know what? There's the funeral of the king.
Wait, but let's.
Bronwyn. That's someone in the chat. I agree with you. Bronwyn got a better funeral than the king. Was that you, Otaku Senpai, who said that?
Also, I want to mention, let's just wrap up this storyline because I wasn't a big fan of Isildur being unalived. What is up with this? Like, what's going on here?
His introduction to Estrid?
Yeah.
Well, she was one of the Southlanders who swore fealty to Adar, and she got branded. We see the brand at the end of this episode. And she is escaping, even though she swore allegiance to Adar. All she wanted to do was escape. So she's a refugee from Mordor, and didn't want to Stick around. The other fan theory, the conspiracy theory, is that she is a spy on behalf of Adar and did not want to escape Mordor. She's very happy to be out there going on to Pelargir, which is where they're headed, to be an active spy for Adar. So I don't know. We'll see which one of those theories is going to hold out. We will see.
She is
We'll
not.
have to wait and see.
She is not Shelob.
No, she's not Shelob. Not at all.
That was a rumor that she was human Shelob, taking reference to the video games where Shelob takes human form in the Shadow of War video.
No, she is not. No, she is not.
Also,
and
he
I'm
would
so
be
glad
able
to see.
walk.
You know what? All that weird rumor that we had about the opening of the season, showing the I knew Lindale from the creation of the world.
Never happened.
It never happened. Wild rumors that we speculated strongly about, and they never happened. We never got to see all that crazy 4chan, wherever those rumors came from. They were crazy.
During marketing,
they were crazy.
During marketing, they set up this character as the romantic interest of Isildur. They did that in the marketing of up to season 2. So if you've already told everybody this is the romantic interest, I'm not I'm not sure about stabbing him in the thigh. Like, if she's on the run, she is, I don't know. It could have been from her perspective. Maybe the camera could have started on her perspective on whether to trust. Like, do I trust this guy? Do I reach out to him for help? Do I stab him? I don't know. There's just different ways of playing that.
I was totally fine with the introduction of the character. I was totally fine with it. No problems for me.
Okay.
Getting to spend time in Pelargir, that shot right there, where they take time for the dewdrop to fall off of the leaf, that's great stuff. That's great stuff. They actually do need to do a bit more of those things. Those transition shots, like a tight close-up of something happening in nature.
That's what
a drop coming off of a leaf. Those are the things that will make the transitions seem more Middle-earthy. Instead of like a television show, it'll seem more Middle-earth-like. And I loved it. That was a great example of one of my favorite pieces of editing. And all it is a dewdrop falling off of a leaf. But it is what you call a palette cleanser. Miyazaki is exceptionally good at doing palette cleansers in between major set pieces of animation. And that's when you just regard the natural world, you regard the wind on the hills, you regard the rain that falls at your feet. Just moments of reflection on nature help to make for the best transitions. And I hope they keep doing more of that. That was really good.
Again, back to lower thirds and using dialogue to describe something. Like you've just established that Isildur and Estrid get on a horse together, right? You could have taken like 10 seconds to have a scene of dialogue where she says, "Where are you headed to, strange man?" And he's like, "There's an old Numenorian settlement around here. I know the way," or I think I know the way. Like, they could have like introduced Pelargir, old Numenorian settlement, in a quick line of dialogue that would have established that he knows his history. He is a student of the military. Like, he's acting like a good soldier who knows his terrain.
They had mentioned the location in last season where the Numenorians came to the shore before they attacked the Southlands.
It would just have been. It would have been a
tried
nice,
to attack the orcs,
quick dialogue rather than having
Southlands.
text on screen. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the map. That's right. Susan is right. Susan is like, it was on the map, dude. It's on the map.
All right.
Okay. Now, let's jump forward.
Also,
we talked about
what is he supposed to be feeling here? Like, I feel
he's
like I'm
supposed to see
missing something.
The ships. He does not see his father's ships. And what you're looking at is the immediate realization that he's abandoned. He is abandoned in Middle-earth now. and they've gone back to
So
Numenor
show
without
me
him.
that.
So that's the look on his face.
Can,
Have they left without me? Have they abandoned me?
can we have a piece of dialogue that says, they've left without me? Like, I was
Well,
just kind of
it's
lost.
mentioned several minutes later. Several minutes later, the character, which character says they didn't abandon you? It was mentioned specifically.
Okay.
So it did happen. It just didn't happen then.
I'm really
Oh,
not
you
liking
are
this
so.
storyline.
you're full of piss and vinegar tonight, aren't
Yeah,
you, Justin?
I am really.
I
not
really
liking
enjoyed
this
episode
storyline.
3. I thought it was
Okay.
awesome.
All right, this was cool. Arondir comes to the rescue. Meets up with a thing, and then cut to
Bronwyn's funeral. The funeral
Palantir,
pyre.
The funeral. This was great. What a way to do it.
It was so beautiful. So beautiful.
Great dialogue with Theo. We already talked about this. All right, so
Yeah, we did.
And
That's why we can jump ahead.
That concludes that. What storyline do you want to go to next?
I think we need to talk about the presence of Damrod.
Damrod? Okay.
He shows up. Yeah.
Where's Damrod?
Oh no, here's at that funeral.
This.
No, we'll get to the we'll get to that. Yeah, is this where Damrod shows up? Oh wow, this is so cool. Yeah, and now we get to talk about the baby orcs and the orc family. Now we get to talk about that. Just show Damrod for a second. This is so perfect. Look at that guy. Wow.
Return of the King was on TV the other night, and when Sauron blows up at the end of Return of the King, the big troll that Aragorn is fighting is like instantly starts running away. Like the curse has been broken when Sauron is destroyed, and that was our first little sign that orcs or trolls have agency. So I love the fact that they're going deeper with this. Damrod is amazing, and I look forward to everything. Now let's go to the trolls. Let's go to the trolls. Yes, there was a baby orc and an orc family on the Rings of Power. This is an article on Nerdist, of all places. Nerdist.com. Rotem Rusak, wonderful coverage. I cannot believe that they had to write a whole article on orc babies. But it's true to Tolkien. Here's what J.R.R. Tolkien had to say about orcs. Tolkien said that orcs in the Silmarillion, and thus did Melkor breed the hideous race of the orcs in envy and mockery of the elves, of whom they were afterwards the bitterest of foes. For the orcs had life, and multiplied after the manner of the children of Iluvatar.
Yeah, everybody who's a Tolkien fan knows this. I don't believe that Nerdist had to go to the trouble to write that. But it was...
Also,
because there's a bunch of stupid people online who are on their keyboards being stupid, so they had to write that. It's crazy, isn't it?
But the Hobbit had Azog and Bolg, like a father-son orc. Like,
of course. Yeah. Literally.
This is
Literally.
Not controversial at all.
Not controversial at all. I agree.
So this whole debate.
But the haters are going to hate. Why? Because they're in an ecosystem where they can make cash on the stupidity. That's the only reason why. It's the only reason why.
So I love the fact that they have nothing to complain about except something that is so wrong. So good on the showrunners for making a show that is becoming hard to criticize, because if this is all the haters got, like, they got nothing. Because this is actually true to Tolkien.
Yep.
But by the way, the whole promise of Adar and Sauron and everything was to defeat the men of Middle Earth, to give orcs the land of their own so they could, Like,
Do you know what? It was incorrectly put into the minds of everybody on Earth that Saruman was able to breed an army the way that Gandalf uses that line just by using, you know, pods that birth them out of mud, birthing pods. You could call it, I call it invasion of the body snatchers, where suddenly you've got this body snatchers bulbous little thing, and they're being sprouted like a chia pet. You're not sprouting Urukai out of a hole in the mud. They're actually the whole horrible, and I hate to be so distasteful, but since we're talking about it, the most horrible thing that Saruman did was, and it was mentioned somewhere in the books, but he was interbreeding men and orcs and ended up with the Uruk-hai as a blend. Very distasteful, but that's the way my memory serves it. Am I wrong? I'm going to ask the folks in the live chat whether I'm wrong or not. I mean, now
it's fine. It's a
the,
waste
it's
of time.
totally cool.
And so if everyone that's complaining
Everyone
about
just
orc
thinks
babies
that they're
is
doing
up,
it. Christopher Lee is standing over some mud pit and they're springing up like mushrooms out of the ground. That's not how you breed orcs.
that's a Peter
They
Jackson
are actually
thing.
they're humanoids that interact and have the same biology as Tolkien says that the Eldar would have had. So yeah. Thank you, Julia. Julia says I think that sounds correct.
They absolutely had family units. They had family units. They multiplied like children of Iluvatar. They had
Okay.
life. They had life and multiplied after the manner of the children of Iluvatar.
Okay, that is the Roman Catholic trying to say something about sexual reproduction without using the words sexual reproduction. That's how very Catholic I think Tolkien is in describing it that way.
Right.
But when he does
not
say, why would you? I know RJ. I understand what RJ is trying to say in the chat, and I appreciate the point. But I don't think that it's mutually exclusive to have what Tolkien says recreate and reproduce in the manner of the other children of Iluvatar, and yet not also have families or parental relationships. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, really. I don't.
But
I can see how it fits.
In this quote on Nerdist, it says,
Yeah.
"Deep in their dark hearts, the orcs loathed the master whom they served in fear, and maker only of their misery."
Yep.
So
Yep.
that is implying that the orcs are not inherently evil and don't have families. This acknowledges that they are aware that there is a maker of their misery and they don't
Yes.
like it.
Yes, very much so. Yep. Hey, a word of advice to the orcs, to the Uruks: unionize. Unionize. Collective bargaining. Unionize.
I'm just
That's
pulling
my
up
advice to the Uruks.
I'm just pulling up letter 184. J.R.R. Tolkien. Again, everyone should own the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, the newly published edition from last year. J.R.R. Tolkien, in letter 184, says, "In my story, I do not deal in absolute evil. I do not think there is such a thing, since that is zero. I do not think that at any rate any rational being is wholly evil." So this line of thinking that orcs are not capable of a family unit is incorrect in all matters. Because Tolkien does not deal in wholly evil.
And they had restaurants. Thank you, Zap Verasepa. They had restaurants and they knew what a menu was. That's funny. We always have to come back to those meme-worthy moments. Oh, gosh. Okay. Cheers. My hat is off my ABC hat and my shiny bald head, my hat is off to the showrunners for sticking to their guns and doing all prosthetic orcs. Real actors, real actresses, real stunt performers, not CGI faces, not CGI anything. It's orcs, nasty, filthy orcs in real latex makeup. My hat is off to the production for doing that. It's great stuff. Really great
And
stuff.
so there you go. Cliff, what else did you want to talk about in episode 3 here? We got Barrack,
um, I thought
we got
here's the
orcs.
other thing that we need to mention before we close out the
Oh yeah,
show, and I want to
Numenor.
say thank you. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Numenorian storyline for a moment. We're now at 2 hours and 47 minutes in our broadcast here at Torn Tuesday, but I cannot let this go unspoken. The Numenorian storyline, showing how upset the people, the citizens are with Tarmiriel as she gets slapped in the face by a woman during the funeral, and there's an uprising against her at the coronation. You could say an uprising to whatever degree. What the writers of the show, please pay attention, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, with great respect and appreciation for the hard work you're doing. Please note that you still have not mentioned the metaphysical, spiritual reasons why the Numenorians feel the way they feel. They are not given the gift of the elves, the gift of immortality. They all seem to be really, really upset with the daughter of the king, the queen regent, Tarmiriel. There are people that Pharazôn is meeting, and they're starting to have a confederacy of secret, meetings to supplant her in power. Oh, all that stuff is completely fleshed out, and I dig it. But what I'm missing is the spiritual discussion about Numenorians being envious, deeply envious, of the elves' immortality, leading to their desire to go against the Valar and to go against the elves. I mean, right now, Tarmiriel is being shown so much public distrust from her servants because of the unnecessary deaths of all the Numenorian soldiers who died in this recent expedition to Middle-earth. It is the only thing that you're presenting to us in that matter. The matter needs to be fleshed out to the degree that Professor Tolkien led us to understand what really caused the spiritual schism between the peoples of Numenor. And it was because of immortality, because the elves had it, the men of Numenor wanted it. It wasn't about their trades or their jobs being threatened by the presence of elves. It's not about you took our boys to the mainland and they're dead. I mean, that's all part of what's happening now in your story, but your Numenorian storyline is lacking, to my mind, lacking that major spiritualism component. It's got to be in there. It's got to be in there.
I felt the whole Numenorian storyline is half baked. It just is. Nothing makes sense to me. Everything that you and Matt and other YouTubers and lore experts have told me about what Numenor is truly about, and the themes are not present in the show. They're not.
The theme is, and this is, look, when I bumped into the man on the train, the first thing that I said is your story going to be thematically about death and the pursuit of deathlessness? That's the Numenorian storyline. And I was promised that they're going to deliver.
Well, it's not here. It's not here yet, and I don't understand, Cliff. Please explain to me this whole
it is beautiful.
eagle thing.
Everything in Numenor is so physically gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's
we're
just
not talking.
the most sumptuous eye candy.
Sure, there's $1 billion on screen, but
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Cliff, what's up with this eagle? Like, nobody in the show tells me, the viewer, the significance of what's going on here with this eagle. Like, I don't.
Earlier in the episode, while he's having a conversation with Tarmiriel about what dress to wear for the coronation, he actually says, Well, if an eagle would show up, that hasn't happened in ages and ages. That would be super rare and really significant if an eagle showed up. Because the eagles are, say it with me now, everyone in the chat, the eagles are the heralds of Manwë, the Lord of all the Valar.
So
Now, here's my take. Here's my personal opinion.
What's the point of this eagle showing up then?
I don't really know, except the eagle is there to. I think that the people in the court of the throne room are making a mistake, and they're saying that the eagle is there to bless Pharazôn.
Yeah,
my impression was that the eagle was there for Tarmiriel, and everybody else in the room misunderstood that. And Pharazôn, being a total opportunist, is using it to his advantage entirely. That's just my take.
I agree with you because
yeah, that's right. Anonymous girl is with me. The eagle probably showed up to approve of Miriel. That's my take on it. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my take.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like he never touches the eagle, and the eagle flies off when he steps up. So I don't understand everybody chanting his name or whatever they chant here. Like
they are chanting his name.
When they start chanting his name, this is all to me is as cheesy as they're taking our jobs. They're taking our jobs. I'm like, what are you riling up the crowd for? Like what? Like. There's nothing about this eagle that has blessed Pharazôn. The eagle does not bow to him. The eagle does not do anything. Look, the eagle's screaming at Pharazôn.
And they don't speak. Look, Peter Jackson and the Rings of Power have one thing in common. They've removed the eagle's ability to have spoken language. And they speak in full sentences. They speak amongst themselves. The eagles speak with other humanoids. Other elves and wizards and men have conversations with eagles, but these are mute beasts, and I don't understand that. But here you are.
Well, I said after season 1, I said this show would get great if it leans into the weirder fantasy aspects of Tolkien. Start having the animals talk. You want to separate yourself from Peter Jackson,
have the eagles talk,
and become your own thing.
But if the eagle were there for Tarmiriel, he would have said so. He would have spoken and said, "I'm here to bless her coronation, not you." And the eagle just flew off and didn't say anything.
You know what?
So I don't get it. I don't get
it. And let's say they don't want the animals to talk. The eagles to talk. Cliff, you know how they could have solved this?
Yeah, Dan is correct in saying, isn't the point of the eagle not communicating is to let the viewer conclude that Pharazôn's co-conspirators were being presumptuous? Yes, Dan, you are correct. You said it. You said it.
I don't like it. Nothing makes sense. I still don't understand why he wants to usurp the throne. Let me present this like... There's a lot of different ways that anyone would redo the scenes, and we all have our mind's eye, like how we wanted Numenor and everything. But let me present an option. In the context of the show that we've been given, it would have been cool if... What's the girl that comes out with the Palantir? Estel? Arian?
Iarian, I think.
Let's say right. Everything happens exactly how it does. Iarian comes out with the Palantir, and the eagle speaks to her through the Palantir.
Mm-hmm.
And she suddenly understands where nobody else knows what the eagle is saying. She suddenly understands what the eagle is saying because she's holding the Palantir.
Okay.
And either she communicates that to the public or she communicates that just to us, the viewers. Like, we hear the eagle's voice in her head, and we see her decide whether to tell everybody that the eagle loves Miriel, or we see her make Galadriel's choice to keep the secret to herself.
Right, indeed. Otaku Senpai is correct in saying Miriel will be forced to wed Pharazôn to maintain her position, but Pharazôn will manipulate that to seize the scepter himself. Good. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Also,
Very good.
also, the staging of the scene, like Muriel's blind. Remember why?
Hmm.
Like I feel like there should be someone in her ear, Elendil maybe, like describing what's going on.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, she doesn't know there's an eagle there, but until she overhears the commotion of people in the room.
And if they dare play this later in the show, later in the season, where Farazan lies to her, like there was no eagle. Um,
Oh, I don't know.
the ring making was cool. Where's that?
Yeah, the ring making was
scene
so
with the,
cool.
Where's the scene with the thing, with the
What scene with
Palantir?
what thing? Oh,
Oh,
they're right there.
oh, it was before the eagle.
It was before
See,
the eagle appears where she
see
drops
this.
the Palantir.
Yeah, this would have been
But
cool if the Palantir was in the room, and the eagle shows
mhm,
up, and like whoever's holding the Palantir hears the eagle. Like we get the best of both worlds. We get Tolkien's eagles talking.
right. Katie, thank you for saying this. What is being missed here is that it would be known that the eagles are the heralds of the Valar, specifically the heralds of Manwë, but they don't make that clear enough. That's true. That is true. You know what? We need more episodes so that some of these things aren't so abbreviated. Look,
But Cliff, what about
the
this?
ultimate
What about
the
this
ultimate
scene
hold
right
on.
here? I want your opinion
Yeah,
on this particular piece of magic.
the Palantir is the moment where everyone's like, let's condemn Muriel. Muriel is using elf magic, and we hate that, and therefore she can't be trusted, and therefore she cannot be queen of Numenor. She's keeping secrets by using ancient magic of the elves, and we don't do that anymore. So
Okay, is that true to Tolkien?
no, no. What's true to Tolkien is that the Numenorians resented the fact that they were mortal. They started just the
What
seeds of that need to be planted. Is
What
that
do
they
you?
resent the elves live forever, men have to die. This is where the Numenorian conflict comes from.
So it sounds
The,
like the show is setting up that the main drive is elf magic versus
well,
Numenorian power.
the entire prejudiced society we've been given from season 1 and now in season 2 an entire Numenor which is racially biased against elves. But what we have not been given is the metaphysical, spiritual reasons why there's resentment towards the elves. That's why you said it was
The
half
show,
baked. You. That's why it doesn't feel like it's completely written and fleshed out in its idea.
the show,
That's why it feels
as
that
we
way.
have seen so far, has only
Yeah,
presented the debate as they're taking our jobs and elf magic is bad and we don't like elf magic. We are men of Numenor.
we don't like anything to do with the elves.
So
Well,
what did
why
you think of the Palantir magic when Elendil picked it up and he was blasted away?
I I don't get that. I don't get it yet.
This
Maybe
scene,
we'll learn more, but I don't get it.
he picks up the Palantir.
And it blows him across the room.
That's new. That's a new piece of magic that we've
Yep,
never
that's never
seen
happened.
before. Because when Pippin
Yep.
picks it up, it turns into a flame. It turns into fire, right?
Hmm. No, it actually
So
when
is the
Pippin touches
Palantir
it,
is the Palantir rejecting Elendil?
I don't know. They've never been written about that the Palantirs behave that way. There's nothing to back that idea up, so I don't get it. Yet, I don't understand it yet. Uh, hmm.
But so I don't know. Like my opinion right now is after watching season 1 and now season 2, first 3 episodes 3 times each. The Numenor storyline is half baked, and this show needs room to breathe with the elves. And I would love to see Numenor handed off to another showrunner as a spin-off and just let Numenor bake on its own. Give it all the hours of screen time and the breathing room to delve into these topics of religion and deathlessness and
Yep.
the
Yeah,
gift
that's the
the gift
metaphysics.
of the Valar the different gifts of the
It's
Valar.
it's called the gift of men. The gift of men is the fact that they die and they go on to a different spiritual destiny that Iluvatar has kept secret
and
from the elves. The
and
elves
didn't
do
they
not
earn that?
know. They don't know.
Wait, and
The
didn't
elves
they
don't
earn
understand
that
it.
in war? Didn't they earn that gift in war?
Yeah. You mean the gift of Numenor, the island? Yeah. They earned it because of all the blood they shed fighting against Morgoth for the sake of the elves.
There's so much to talk about that really needs a deep dive. And I feel like this
Yeah.
episode, if this episode was only about two storylines, the Arondir thing or the Isildur stuff, and then this stuff, Numenor.
Yeah.
Numenor is still half baked. It's bringing the whole show down because without these heavy topics explored deeply
Yep.
and carefully,
Yeah.
it's bringing the rest of the show down when people give a review. And
Well,
also, we
I
just
mean,
talked about
when
how much better the show would be with 16 or 22 episodes, where everything has room to breathe. But because we have 8 episodes every 2 years, that's not enough. Give us Numenor.
She's right. Anonymous Girl is right, and I agree 1,000%. The Numenor storyline needs more screen time. Yes, we all advocate for that. But it also needs more development overall. Also, and this is the kicker, the other son, Anarion, has yet to make an appearance. That would be Elrond's brother. You know, the one brother who was half elven chose to be an elf, and that was Elrond, half elven. The other brother chose to be human and became mortal, and he was the first king of the Numenorians. And you're right, Anarion has not made an appearance yet. Good point, Anonymous Girl. I wonder
But
if he's
there's not- there's not enough
did he die
time.
off stage? They didn't mention it. They didn't mention that Anarion has died off stage.
There's just so much. I'm telling you, we're all excited.
Yeah.
As soon as they announced the Rings of Power in the Second Age, and they showed a map that included Numenor.
Oh, sorry. I'm so speaking wrong about Elros. Elros is Anarion is not the same person. I'm making very bad. Anarion is Isildur's brother. Thank you. Yes, I was totally making. Sometimes I'm wrong and sometimes I'm right. But this was a moment when I was very, very wrong. That didn't mean to say that. I was wondering when you folks were going to correct me. Thanks for the brainwave. Thank you guys for correcting me. But yeah, he's his brother, his missing brother.
So I've got a couple.
Yeah,
I got
thanks,
a couple
guys.
notes before we start to wrap up.
It's been a 3-hour show and I've got low blood sugar. So yeah, okay. Okay, I gotta go eat.
I just wanted to mention that Amazon has posted on YouTube. If you go to the Prime Video channel, just search for Prime Video. There's a YouTube channel, and they've posted all 3 episodes of Behind or Inside the Rings. It's the behind the scenes. It's not a full documentary, but it's a 6.5 minute conversation with the filmmakers. It's the official after show. So the official after show is a 6.5 minute hosted by Felicia Day, and all 3 episodes are on YouTube. I think you can also watch them on Prime. It might even auto play if you're watching the next episode on Prime. Cliff, I don't know if you caught this, but these episodes.
I haven't seen those.
The Felicia Day interviews with the cast and crew of Rings of Power, they put fake audience clapping and laughter. There's canned audience.
Canned laughter?
Canned
They
audience.
haven't done that. They haven't done that since the sitcoms of the 80s. What are you talking
Cheers.
about?
No, Cheers was filmed in front of a live studio audience. So was Seinfeld.
It was. There were other shows that were just canned laughter.
I was just kind of shocked. I was like, you don't need to do that, Amazon. You don't need to put canned laughter and canned applause. Like, nobody cares if there's an audience or not. Like, we just want to hear the actors talk about their characters.
Goodness gracious, that's funny. Okay, wow. Thank you guys for being with us for a 3-hour show. A 3-hour tour.
Oh, couple more things.
That was a 3-hour tour.
We love to see support from all avenues. the executive producer of War of the Rohirrim, the
Yep.
new Warner Brothers feature film coming out in December, produced by Peter Jackson, Philippa Boyens, and Fran Walsh. Jason DeMarco says Rings of Power soundtrack is so good. Just really great work from everyone involved. My goodness, was getting distracted when watching the first episode of the new season by how great the music was.
Mm-hmm.
That is high praise from the executive producer of War of the
That's
Rohirrim,
so cool.
who is currently in New Zealand doing this final music mix for his own movie. So the fact that he's in the middle of the final master of the music for War of the Rohirrim, and he's praising Bear McCreary's work. Again, I agree. I think Bear McCreary's music is the best on television by far, and he should be winning Emmys for the next 10 years.
He should be winning Golden Globe Awards and Emmy Awards left and right. I agree. I totally agree.
And a couple more things. We want to thank Dominic Monahan and Elijah Wood and Billy Boyd for supporting the fans at Dragon Con. Everybody had a good time. You can see, if you go to Dom's Instagram page, he posted a bunch of videos and photos. Billy's posted a bunch of stuff. So check out Billy and Dom on Instagram. They've been posting from Dragon Con. We thank all of you for the support of the OneRing.net. We had a great party where we gave out Rings of Power hand sanitizer and a bunch of other wonderful stuff. Dubetta was there. And finally, Cliff, I just need to mention this.
We have to talk about Ian McKellen and what he said publicly.
About I forgot about
Gandalf.
that. Yeah, well, tell
this
people
is
while I
major
bring
news.
it up.
Yeah, thank you, by the way, to Troy. Thank you, Troy Hillman, for reminding us. Sir Ian McKellen has said they better get writing. He's been approached to reprise the role of Gandalf in Andy Serkis directed, we should say helmed, Andy Serkis helmed new feature film that may or may not retain the title of The Hunt for Gollum. It might change its title, but lo and behold, Sir Ian McKellen has actually said publicly, yep, it's on, I'm ready, they better give me a script, because I'm not getting any younger, kids, in essence. So he's ready to go. And I think that would be quite a boon. Is there
room in the marketplace for two Gandalfs in the marketplace at the same time?
I am not going to speculate that the stranger is Gandalf, so don't take me there.
Well, I am, and I'm going to say yes, there is room, because we had 5 Sherlocks at one point. Ian McKellen was Sherlock.
Yes.
There was a girl Sherlock from Stranger Things. Of course, Benedict Cumberbatch was Sherlock.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr. was Sherlock. And then CBS had a show with, what's his name from Hackers as Sherlock. There were 5 Sherlocks on TV and movies at the same time. We're okay with multiple Gandalfs and Sarumans.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but I think that we're going to get a different surprise with the stranger. But I also expressly wish that we had an end to the mystery boxing. I wish we had an end to that. But hey, whatever.
Let me ask you this. Does Tom Bombadil give the wizard his name, or does Nori give him the name?
I continue to speculate that Tom Bombadil will cure the amnesia of the stranger and help him discover his name.
Next episode that is going to be up in 28 hours. We are 28 hours away from the next episode, which will feature Tom Bombadil in his first screen appearance ever in history. No animated film, no graphic novel, nothing has ever portrayed Tom Bombadil except high art. It's that wonderful art from the Hildebrand.
And one playing card, actually, when Weta gave artwork to Decipher for publishing their collectible trading card game, the one that was so popular with Nicholas Hoult, who later on would go to play J.R.R. Tolkien himself, Guess what? They created a Tom Bombadil card. You can look it up. Type in the word Tom Bombadil decipher card, and you'll see the image. What was it? It was a character actor they found, and the guys at Weta Workshop created the beard, the makeup, the costuming, and that was the very first
It was just
Tom
one
Bombadil.
card. But the most famous one, I think,
Just
is the
one card.
brothers Hildebrandt. Had a wonderful painting.
Oh yeah, that's the most
That is-
famous
that
one
is the
in
iconic one.
pictorial artwork. That's a famous Bombadil.
Cliff,
Yeah, really famous.
Final point I want to make.
Yes.
The Rings of Power Season 2 off to a great start. I gave Season 1's 2-episode premiere 5 out of 5 stars. You can read my review on Season 1's premiere. I loved it. I saw it in theaters multiple times. I just loved Bayona's episodes. I think Season 2 is, my opinion, off to a rocky start, and maybe because my expectations are off. So I will admit that my expectations are really high because it's Tolkien, and I feel like we are being shortchanged of some very important things that would have made the show great. Is it better edited? I don't know. Is it better shot? I don't know. I'm excited that they have found a groove, and you can definitely feel the show getting better. I will say that. The show is getting better, and the filmmakers are finding their foot.
Yeah,
feeding.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Can I say something before we close the show? Peter Mullen and Owain Arthur unexpectedly brought me to human tears, real human tears. Peter Mullen is amazing. Owain Arthur is amazing. And the way that Helen wrote that episode, the way it was put together with father and son trying to find the grace to forgive one another, heartbreaking, wonderful stuff. Peter Mullen, you win. You win. Owain Arthur, you win. And extra love to Sophia Nomvete, who is gorgeous, funny, and very, very appealing as Disa. Great stuff. And if Rings of Power can continue with those small emotional grace notes, imagine how they can continue and develop to larger, tragic, emotional things, coming up with what happens to Celebrimbor at the end of the season. Imagine how much other moments of drama they can flesh out and make them absolutely amazing. So, full credit to the folks working on the Rings of Power for the improvement on season 2. And I really appreciate what's going on. I really do.
All right, final thought, Cliff. By my watch,
yep,
it has been 6 days since the release of the 3 episodes of Rings of Power. It is now end of the day Tuesday, and we have yet to see any tweet, any article, or anything coming from Prime Video announcing the success and the millions of viewers that have tuned in.
They haven't announced that yet.
Just for kicks, I went to Twitter history and I looked up when did they announce their huge release, and this was on Saturday, September 3rd. So within 48 hours of season 1 premiere, by Saturday, they had a tweet that said 25 million global viewers. Thank you for making Rings of Power the most watched series premiere on Prime Video. We are now on day 6 post-release, and we have yet to see a tweet that says the most watched anything. Most watched second season premiere. Most watched, I don't know. You can make up most watched midnight release. You can come up with any qualifier.
Maybe we have to wait for them to figure out the numbers. I don't know, but
they knew the numbers within 48 hours last time.
Okay.
So
I guess we'll find out.
But everyone watching this episode or watching this show and everyone in our Discord have all done our part. Like I said, I've watched it 3 times, 3 episodes 3 times. You've watched it a couple times. Multiple people have
Mhm.
watched it several times over the weekend. We are doing our part to get the numbers up. So thank you, everybody, for
Yeah.
making this show a success in the community. Because at the end of the day, while we love Tolkien and we love his books, and his books aren't going away, it's this community that is growing around the passion for the show and a passion for adapting Tolkien in these new ways is bringing us together. And I'm having the most fun with the community and the response to the show. So we look forward to midnight.
I agree. Yes.
Midnight
Yes.
on Thursday. Midnight Pacific time on Thursday. That is 28 hours from now. And when you go to Discord to talk about it, we have an episode discussion chat room. So for the first weekend, we ask that you keep all conversation in one specific chat room. That way everybody can talk openly about what just happened and everything like that.
Oh, you mean that's the spoiler zone, and people who don't want to get spoiled can not go into that section of the chat until they're ready to go
Until they're
and
ready.
experience it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's a great approach. That's really great. Well
Now,
done, everyone.
We have we have double the viewers than we normally have, and our
Yes, we
show
do.
is
That's
3
lovely.
times as long tonight because we've just dived into 3 different episodes. So we
Okay.
spent an hour talking
yeah,
about each hour-long
did.
episode. All future episodes are
That's
around an
hilarious.
hour each, and all future episodes will be launching at the same time, Thursday at 12:01 a.m. Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern.
Otaku Senpai, we will talk about the release of War of the Rohirrim merchandise, because that has to be another program. It seems that the Rings of Power still has no merch. In fact, one of our old original staffers from the OneRing.net, Ostadan, wrote me an email a few days ago saying, "What? No games? No toys? No action figures?" Well, they're doing merch for War of the Rohirrim. It's already been announced. But Rings of Power doesn't seem to be in the game yet for licensing for merchandise deals. It just hasn't seemed to happen yet. So we'll report on that when we know more about it. We'll definitely do our reporting right here and let you all know about it as soon as we know about it.
And to answer a question in the chat room, this season is 8 episodes. So you've seen 3. In 28 hours, you'll have seen 4. And we will be,
we'll be halfway through the whole season. Halfway through. You know what? They need to make more episodes.
They need to make
really
more
do.
episodes, or they need to punt the Numenor storyline to another series. So every other year we get content, because waiting 2 years for 8 episodes is not cutting it.
You know what? Even the Sandman had 10 episodes, and then at the end of it, they surprised everybody with an extra. They added in a bonus 11th episode weeks and weeks after the premiere.
Yeah,
and they were like,
and
"Oh,
that was
surprise! There's a
fun.
bonus episode." That was so fun. They should do something like
There
that.
is
That'd be
so
cool.
much story in the second
Drop
age.
a surprise episode.
I'm telling you, a 16 episode season order would be great.
Katie says that Lindsay of Prime Video said that they keep trying, but no dice yet. Okay, we'll find out when it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. You guys are the best audience ever, and definitely the best community of fans. Wonderful, really wonderful to have you all with us. Thank you very much. This has been your 3-hour and 20-minute Torn Tuesday, coming at you with all the excitement and enthusiasm that you expect and that you deserve, talking about the wonderful, really, really cool stuff that has been brought to us with Season 2 of the Rings of Power. I want to say thank you all in the chat. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at QuickBeam2000. You can also follow the OneRing.net by taking out the dot and just look for the One Ring Net on all socials. Join our Discord. It's an amazing place. And we're going to, yeah, it was epic, wasn't it, Eravandi? Thank you. Until next time, folks, you got to take good care of yourselves. Please look after one another. Kitty Cat is safe inside. No coyotes tonight. It's all going to be good. Justin, you are remarkable, sir. Thank you for producing and pushing the buttons behind the scenes to make it happen. Really appreciate you. And to everyone out there, we will see you again next Tuesday at the exact same time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here, same bat time, same bat channel. I'm making an Adam West reference from the 60s. Stick with me, kids. Have a great night. I love you guys so much. Thanks for being with us. This has been a thrill. Today's been a great show. Until next week, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.